Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?
It is that time of the summer where we get things started back up here at Titan Esports. This entire week, the leagues have been starting on up, and now the last one in line, but certainly not the least, it's time for the Immortal League here at Titan Esports to kick off on this fine Thursday evening. And what better way with a Group B matchup between Legacy Amber, Dorado Gaming Alpha to get us started here. I'm Ferris, joined by my main. Been too damn long, man, since we've had to cast together, and I'm excited for this one.
It has, Ferris. They've been keeping us apart, I swear to God, but finally we are here on the Immortal League. You said it best, Ferris. It is the start of summer, both teams sitting at 0-0, and us getting a little bit of a peek into the new split and how the players are going to react to it. Because if you'll remember, when we ended our first split here for the year on Titan, it was still Noxus color. You had the red, you had the yellow. It looked all ugly. Now it looks pretty. I'm going to take a stance here and say the Ionian map is a lot better looking, Ferris. But hey, you can disagree with me, but I will judge you if you do, I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's not going to be very many people that disagree with you, because it's gorgeous. From the moment I loaded onto my first game with this new rift, not new anymore, but new at the time, I was like, Oh my gosh, this is a breath of fresh air. It's like stepping into, I don't know, a whole new world. And, you know, there's a couple other changes other than the rift that have happened since then. There's now only one form of Otacon. There's only one grub spawn, which I'll give you your flowers, Quacks. That is something that you actually were talking about a lot, that there should only be one grub spawn. And, well, now there is. So things have changed on the Rift, and we're also on a new patch as well. I believe this is the old patch. This is 15.10. There's a new one now, 15.11. So things are a little bit different.
Yep, so 15.11 has, I would say, a couple notable changes that we can talk about before we go in, Ferris. Biggest one, I would say, are the nerfs section. Lucian and Smolder getting just hit a little bit. I would say Smolder getting hit a lot more than Lucian, but those two champions, I would say, definitely the most relevant and prevalent picks in the bot lane, at least when we're talking about the competitive side of League. The buffs, however, have, I would say, a couple of less indications. Ryze, obviously, still extremely strong. Roa being, I would say, the big quintessential Thanos-turning item for a lot of the popular mages right now. He is going to gobble all of that up, so I'm wondering if, you know, both of these mid laners are familiar with the champion, if we're going to be seeing a lot of attention paid toward that pick. And then for the adjustments, we've got the Annie, who has made splashes in recent, you know, I would say the past week, since the patch has dropped, simply because this character, you can put it down as much as you want, but it still does a ton of damage. So other than that, nothing too large, nothing too surprising, and nothing that I will think will, I would say, swing this series in, unfamiliar territory for us, Ferris.
I think the most contested pick of all of the champions that have been changed, the one that affects this series the most, just based on my initial scan of both of these teams we have for each other today, and for all of you, is the Rise, because Bok Choy, Legacy Amber's mid laner, does play a good chunk of Rise, and also Dorado Gaming Alpha's Apex in the top lane is a Rise player, and actually the most played champion for this player in solo queue is Rise. So something that could be prioritized. Maybe they feel very highly about these buffs. I mean, their buffs are buffs, right? So your champion's getting a little bit stronger. So that could be something that is very heavily prioritizing. So be flexed as well when they do end up trying to pick that one up. But we have to talk about these two teams and all of these players here, Quacks. I don't think I recognize anyone, at least from the previous 2 seasons that I've been, or actually the past season and a half of Immortal I've been casting. We got a whole lot of brand new faces.
Yeah, we have brand new faces on the teams, but the teams themselves reign into the form of familiar territory. At least for me, for those of you who keep up with the ACL, you'll recognize Legacy Esports as a team that does a lot of damage in Aegis over the course of this ongoing, it's still happening in the playoffs as we speak, split. And then on the other side, we've got Dorado Gaming, a team that has made waves and splashes and has been basically the talk of the town over the past week and a half. This is an organization that has been around for so long, and for the first time last week, they finally managed to get their big moment in the open qualifiers, where they promoted toward that promotion tournament in the OQs over the Jolly Rogers. So I had the privilege of casting that. That was an extremely fun series, but this is what Dorado has always done. They've gone after newcomers. They have always sought to go for the best of possible players. Whether or not those players are known quantities or unknown quantities, it doesn't matter. And so that to me makes me super excited to see what Dorado saw in these guys and how good they can actually be.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting. Their first game on the Rift. Here we are into draft, seeing what these teams are going to pull out for us. A couple very interesting bands to start us off. Jinx on the side of Legacy Amber, taking away from Me Have Fun, who has close to 300 games in solo queue on Jinx. So they do not want to deal with that in any capacity. I expect that to be banned all throughout the series. Fiddlesticks as well, taken away from Full Clear on Legacy Amber side, who likes to play that one too, has all we have seen a little bit of Gwen jungle action as well out of Dorado, so they aren't looking towards that themselves, taking that one on away. A lot of carry-oriented things, and here we go. First things first, that Rise is going to be taken immediately by Legacy Amber.
No surprise, champion is strong, builds into the items. We were talking about it just like literally a minute ago, Ferris, so I'm not surprised to see that one come on up for the side of Legacy Amber. Dorado Gaming going to respond with mid laner of their own, which is going to be the Hwei. Rise, one of those champions that I think really struggles in the range department. So if you can just try to poke it from afar before it becomes that tanky machine that we know it to be at that late game, I think we could see Nissan exploit this lane and potentially give his jungler Prio to make some of those aggressive plays that Rise isn't going to be able to immediately respond to. So I like this aggressive look from Dorado Gaming's mid jungle right out of the gate.
We're going to see a Cassante come through. There was a lot of carry champions that Bay I Loves You. That's a tough name right there. Bay I Loves You has been playing, but is going to opt into the weak side of the card when it comes to those champions. Maokai locked in as well. Again, could be flexed into that jungle. We don't see a lot of jungle Maokai a lot nowadays. It's not as strong as it used to be, but top lane is going to be indexed into the Renekton, going to answer into the Cassante here. We got ourselves some solid front line from both sides, some reliable backline carries. It looks like these teams are looking for the very traditional 5v5 style. Around objectives is where we're going to see a lot of focus for both of these teams, you would have to think.
Yeah, I think objectives definitely are going to be a big point of contention in this game, Ferris. But as we can see, both teams matching what they wanted to pick in the first half of this draft. The top side, the big focus. That means that a lot of focus in these bans will be aimed toward the bot lane. Dorado, more concerned with the supports, and then Legacy Amber going to mix it up, the Varus and then the Rel ban. one AD carry that is still up, that is still, I would say, somewhat strong. Despite the nerfs, I think Lucian is still a good pick to have. Corki is another good pick to have, and I like that Dorado are going to index into that one. I think it plays really well with the Xin Zhao, where you are relatively short range, and you don't really have to worry too much about Legacy Amber poking you out because they themselves don't have a ton of range, but they're going to remedy that, Ferris, as they will lock in the quintessential strong ADC of the patch. Still extremely good. It is going to be the Senna plus the Leona, so really, really good bot lane combo, not just for the lockdown, but for the scaling it provides in tandem with that Rise.
It feels like Legacy Amber has such a robust composition, and into the Corki, like you said, the high range is going to do really well into Corki, who does struggle. Senna's going to be able to trade very easily in this lane against a Braum as well. It makes it a little bit more difficult for Leona, especially in the 2v2, but as Senna, if you can just get your stacks off, get as many souls as you possibly can, even if it is just poke, you don't necessarily need to kill in this lane. This is not a kill lane. You want to get to 100 souls ASAP, and then you get that 50% crit, then you get towards that 100 bonus AD, and you are a powerhouse later on. And it's going to be play Stalbo and Bok Choy as these two primary carries for Legacy Amber, and if this game goes slow, if they want to take the backseat, they have no problem in doing so.
Yeah, that will probably require giving up a dragon or two. You really have to respect that Xin Zhao in the early game, the dueling power that that character can provide, not to be underestimated. So I think the real onus for Legacy Esports is going to be on just having that patience that you talked about, Ferris, right? Making sure that you play the long game, you play the scaling game. For the side of Dorado, though, this is definitely a game where I think the top side is a lot more of a volatile state than the bot lane. While I do think that Corki and Braum have a lot of that damage, you're not expecting them to have a ton of interaction with Senna Leona. And so I think it's really going to have to be up to USA on the Xin to make stuff happen in his solo lanes and really get the ball rolling up there.
Well, Plastalbo has found the entire squad looking for a cheeky invade, maybe stack those concussive blows and find themselves a kill, but good setup to start the game for Legacy Amber is going to thwart that play. And it is true that you mentioned, we kind of have, we don't really look, when we look across these lanes, every single one of them, top, mid, and bot lane, I don't see a ton of volatility here, so it is going to rely a lot on junglers to set things up here. Hui can play from range, might bully out the Rise. Cassante typically does well at just being able to go even, at least with Renekton, and just be able to survive. And then we've already talked a whole lot about the bot lane. So USA JJ2 in full clear. From my understanding, at least for a good while, they're Titan Immortal debuts, or at least if they've debuted before, it hasn't been in a see what they can do going up against each other. USA on the Xin, though, this screams a little bit more aggression to me, and like you said, pointing out needs to get aggressive, needs to make things happen in these lanes already with the invade, maybe looking to split the map.
Yeah, they're definitely looking to just try and close off the Maokai from being able to interact with that bot lane, because we said it in the draft, Senna and the Rise, the name of the game, the carries for this blue side, just being able to scale as much as possible. It also helps that you're not only cutting it off from bot lane assistance, but you're also making it more difficult for them to access that dragon pit, which is the scaling objective. So if they have less control over that side of the map, they'll be less likely to, I would say, contest for that neutral. And that will put, I would say, red side in a very good spot to start out this game. It really is just all about giving your jungler time to make something happen and denying that scaling game for the side of Legacy Amber. As we got USA level 3 on the bot lane. It's going to be a big wave crashing, but I think they missed their timer to go for that dive. And if I'm being completely honest with you, Ferris, Playstavlos has that flash, has that barrier, and Leona is a champion that you never want to actually go for a tower dive against. So I think it's smart that he ends up not committing for that play.
Yeah, no, that would have been 1000% a disaster. You could see the hesitation was there for USA, but he made the right choice in backing on up, heading back towards the jungle. A little bit of wasted time, and because of this, the invade was read by Dorado, or by the side of Legacy Amber. So full clear went up to the top side, took it away from USA. And so again, it's that split map. He's ahead now in the clear. With this extra tempo, might be able to get it back off sooner, might be able to get to a certain timer beforehand. We'll see what Full Clear can do with this extra little bit of time, if he can actually use that to his advantage, or if they even knew that the Xin Zhao was hanging around there for a little longer than maybe he should have.
And Full Clear going to get spotted on that top lane ward. You can see both top laners are at around half HP. Apex obviously a little bit healthier here, and also doesn't have to worry about mana as this Renekton, but because he's going to be able to just shove in that wave, should be able to get a reset. Cassandra is a champion that... Oh, hang on.
Hold on a second. Voldanio going to have to use the flash right before the concussive blows actually went through. And USA just going to flash forward with that third auto attack of the 3 Talon Strike, and to force a flash off the center as well. Jumps back in with the Audacious Charge. They get 2 flashes, no kills, but that's going to be something that's going to be very important for them moving forward for the next 5 minutes, Quacks. The bot lane here for Legacy Amber, a whole lot more vulnerable.
Definitely going to be, and that wave pushing as well means it's going to be a little bit difficult for the Senna and Leona to actually find a healthy reset timer without losing resources. That's why they're calling Full Clear down to this bot side to try and fix things up.
Bok Choy.
Something going on bot.
They're fighting it out, and it looks like First Blood is going to go to the Leona of all champions, because Full Clear got involved in Me Have Fun. It doesn't look like you're having fun right now, because 1 kill over to the Senna, 2 kills to Legacy Amber total, and they turn that play right around. Good stuff from Full Clear to get involved there as Apex flashes away 1 HP. The Q3 goes wide. The Croc should be able to escape from this one. Bay is not able to get in range for that last Intofo strike. Bok Choy is running for the hills. That last bit of damage, unable to take him down. And holy moly, it's just like all of a sudden, Quacks, all over the map. We got everyone scrapping.
Yeah, it's action all over the place, but ultimately it is Legacy Amber that come out victorious, getting that 2 for 0 on the bot side. And we emphasize the importance of Full Clear needing to fix this wave state. It was pushing in. You need to get your Senna on a good reset timer. They layer the CC, and then the barrier gets popped. Me Have Fun isn't able to go over the wall and has to flash to the side, and I feel like because he already used that Valkyrie, has really nowhere to run, so you can just see him getting run down. They give it over to Playstablo, so it's 1 apiece for both bot laners. I think really good kill distribution there, and it just gets them in a better state because they were able to recall, get their items. You can see a pickaxe was picked up for the Senna, and then the Swifty boots were picked up for Voldanio. And I'm wondering if because of that buy, they're maybe thinking about going a little bit more roam heavy should they find the opportunity to get Prio.
Absolutely. I mean, Senna is a champion who has the range, can play by herself. It depends on how aggressive Me Have Fun and Shiro want to play. If USA is in the area, then that could definitely get dangerous. But I'm going to have to agree with you on that assessment. Move around the map, try and get the grubs when they spawn up, try and make more plays, link up with this Maokai and get things started. If the Senna can be safe while you do that, then you're really being very productive with your time, proactive to say the least. And I also want to mention, we saw that transition, right? That looks clean as hell. That's my first time seeing that. That was amazing.
Yeah, we got the Titan Esports technology on our side. Ferris relish in it, as Dorado Gaming are going to relish in their first Drake of the game. So we talked about the importance of Legacy stacking up those late game objectives, and Dorado needing to run interference on that front. And it seems like they got the memo. Going to steal that one away and try to make a play on bot.
Valdino is going to get caught up by the concussive blows. Here comes a Realm Warp as well to try and help out the rest of the squad. USA is getting very low, does not have a Crescent Guard. Could this be more kills going the way of Legacy Amber? Bok Choy on the roam. The root is going to land. Shiro is going to get locked out. Good damage there with the Phosphorus Bomb, but it will not be enough. The Rise gets 2. That's the mastery we were looking for with this champion. Good usage of the ultimate to get 2 back for Legacy Amber.
And that's why you ban this character. If the mid laner knows how to play Rise, you take it away. And we are seeing exactly why here in game number 1. Bok Choy, initially from the fight, it was looking a little bit scuffed simply because Valdino had gone down before the Rise was really able to lay down that damage. But he ends up turning that play around as got some action in the mid lane. Ult is dropped here by Jurgen.
Kerrigan is going so far forward right now. It is baiting Full Clear to jump onto him, but he's got the rest of the squad behind him to get that kill. Confidence from the Hui, knowing that he can step that far forward and will not pay the price. Voldanio will Well, bait his jungler in to pay for his transgressions, and now on the cards for Dorado is going to be the Grubs, and now the only Grubs as well.
Yeah, we're going to get another look at this bot lane play about a minute ago. Yeah, right here, you can see it really well played here from Dorado. They instantly burst down Valdanio, but then Bok Choy just, instantly evaporates the Xin Zhao, and then the root lands. It's easy pickings, and I do like that we're giving Bok Choy over these kills. Obviously, you want the kill distribution to be there. Hang on, speaking of kills.
Valdanio is always going forward, but this time has the rest of the team to back him up. Dawning Shadow ran through the rest of them as well, did a good amount of damage. There's a Q3 that knocks back 2. Shiro is in the middle of 4 people and will fall. The retake of the Grubs is good for Legacy Amber, and they're going to get themselves at least one of them.
Yeah, but they're not going to be able to get that feat. They get the majority, so that means Dorado are going to get that tick. And honestly, that was a lot of resources committed just to get the support of Dorado Gaming. So not the worst thing in the world for Legacy Amber, but it does, or for Dorado rather, but it does mean that there is going to be some AD carry combat on the bot side. And maybe a little bit of CS getting grabbed up here by Me Have Fun, who is definitely dominating in that department. We have 73 to 57, so almost a 20 CS difference between the Corki and the Senna.
Oh my gosh.
We're seeing the... Yeah, wow.
Just off the map, and Valdanio can do nothing about it. Drops the Ignite, but Shiro is here to protect his AD carry. You have the range as Senna, but you cannot disrespect the burst Corki has to provide.
Yeah, that's the BF sword difference coming through for Me Have Fun. Gets himself his second of the game, and this Corki beginning to really carve itself out as a win con for Me Have Fun is Valdanio.
He's just dead. He just gives the kill over for free, trying to get them off of the tower, but no business doing that. And the Leona will drop another kill, goes to the Corki. We're singing his praises, and as we're doing it, he gets another one for himself. A lot of people, myself included, like to talk about the sorry state of AD carry in this current meta, but if you give him all the kills, then you know what? Me Have Fun is set up to be the big carry in this one.
He absolutely is, and has flash, has barrier, so is extremely safe even after he gets this reset and comes back to lane. Full clear, or potentially even Bok Choy want to pay a visit down toward bot lane. It's going to be difficult because the Corki is just that much healthier and now is that much stronger as he picks himself up his first of the game, the Bloodthirster. And this has been, I think, a new build that has really taken over for a lot of the Corki players. I think essentially what you do is you go Bloodthirster, you max Valkyrie, and you just YOLO into a lot of fights because you can instantly sustain your way back to a healthy position. So I want to see Dorado Gaming now with their newfound power for their AD carry go crazy.
World Valdanio again in no man's land. There's virtually none of his teammates around him. And this is starting to become a glaring problem here for Legacy Amber. Their support continuously finding themselves in these unfortunate situations. And without that support on the map, thankfully, I mean, there's a Drake coming up here in 10 seconds, and that's definitely going to give them priority over that. They can look to grab this one. That's going to be number 2, and it's going to be a whole lot harder to contest when instead of being here right now, the entirety of Legacy Amber is running back to this Drake.
I mean, Legacy Amber... It's not even that they're playing bad. I mean, Valdanio just keeps on getting caught on this Leona, looking for wards, looking for angles, trying to save his teammates, but it's just not in the right place at the right time. So he keeps getting 2 versus found.
1 in the picture-in-picture. The Croc is in some trouble, but he might just trade it 1 for 1. The Rise is going to go down. He might just get both. He's got 3 people on him now as well. He just jumped back, so he's going to be able to get himself 1 kill. Full clear's dead too. Are you kidding me? This Croc is speaking right now, and the bot side's looking good for 2. Me Have Fun gets himself his 5th of the game. Dorado just like that. They flipped the game on its head. How the turntables. Dorado picking up right where they left off here in summer.
And the org, they look for the best. They get the best as we got more top lane action.
This doesn't even look close. It looks like the Renekton has this all day long. Bai's going to try and flash away. Going to try and dash himself out of here, but the healing is good. The meek is good. Apex is exactly that. The top of the food chain here. And it is not everything on this map is food for him.
Absolutely. 4-0 now on the Renekton. Out of nowhere, this man gets 3 kills in the span of 90 seconds and has become a huge threat that Legacy Amber have to respond to. But now it almost feels like 13 and a half minutes in, the plates haven't even dropped. The walls are really starting to shrink for this Legacy squad as they have to contend with not only the Renekton, but the Corki. So we're going to take another replay look at this. So Apex just feels so immortal at this point. Bok Choy doesn't have it a break point really, to the point where his damage makes a difference. And Maokai, you never draft that champion for the damage, so you're not hurting Apex. Apex hurts you. He gets a double, and then we speed up a little bit. Bai tries to go for the play, knowing that Dominus is down, but now that he has the Eclipse, that extra shield, and just the fact that he does so much more damage than this Cassante really makes the difference. It's 3 out of the gate before you even blink.
And now we've blinked, and Cassante is dead again, grouping up as 3. This trio on Dorado's side has been fantastic.
Whoa!
You know, they want this 3 versus 3. Valdanio, you have no business going that far forward. They don't even win this. It's not even remotely close. Flashing away his full clear now with Salvo joining the party. Bok Choy flashing forward. Maybe they can get something back to themselves. They are able to get one, but the Xin is going to find himself a double. USA does land the wind becomes lightning. Wants to jump back in. He's going to do so. Does have Shiro by his side, but he's so low, but it might not even matter. The Zin's just murdering everyone. Flashing forward to close the gap. Placebo is dead. Everyone dropping on Legacy Amber's side. The duelists from Dorado are making the difference here in this mid to early game, and they have just started to annihilate the entire map.
Absolute destruction here. The plates just dropped a minute ago. All 3 outers have been taken. It is nearly a 10,000 gold difference, around 7K in favor of Dorado as Apex. Can he do it again?
I've seen this movie before. It worked out pretty well for the Crocodile, but now he's got 3 people to worry about. I don't think he's getting himself out of this one. Shutdown goes to the Rise. A good way to, or a good person at the very least, to put the gold on if you are Legacy Amber. Able to pick him off, but at the very least, for the Dorado side, they understand the assignment. Croc is dying bot lane. Let's take the Herald up here.
Yeah, good cross-map play there by Dorado. And really, the big question is, where exactly are you going to place this if you're Dorado? Because a lot of teams like to use Herald as a commodity to kind of bridge the gap in getting another objective, right? That's why you see so many people pop the Herald right before a Dragon so they can take control of the bot river, but nothing is really coming up. There isn't really anything to force you to place that, so now it's just going to be about looking for a pick as we go back into this replay and dude, Valdanio goes in 1v3, tries to actually open up an opportunity for his teammates. It gets themselves a kill, or at least a shutdown onto the Corki, but doesn't last long as USA, confident as hell, goes in for the 1v2 and just closes the gap onto Playstablo, gets his double, and now there's Dragon coming up in about 45. That Herald was taken, so I mean, if Dorado want to, they can, you know, pop that down and force Legacy to respond. But with how ahead they are in this game, Ferris, I don't really think they have to.
They absolutely don't. This has been the perfect early game for them, and it started out well for Legacy Amber. They got the Rise Roam, which got them 2 kills. Overextended was Me Have Fun and Shiro. And then all of a sudden, couple good plays, and they got themselves into the driver's seat, and they found themselves the early game that they've wanted. They want to shut down this scaling team of Legacy Amber before they can get the ball rolling. And you've been able to see it in these skirmishes as well. It looks like Apex and USA are just stat checking the opposition. This Senna has a static Shiv, and working towards an RFC is going to do virtually no damage at this point. Has to wait until those souls get into her back pocket and that 3 items comes online. They're just not ready to fight. And Dorado very willing to force the issue.
I mean, Bok Choy, 1 stack of the Roa at this point is just not going to cut it. You're staring down a team that is at soul point at less than 18 minutes into the game, has been extremely proactive at every point of this first match. Is now Playstablo. You walk 1 centimeter up too far, and now USA is the unstoppable one.
It's the Glacial Fisher from downtown. Shiro is able to catch the Senna. Already burned the flash, and that means you're gone. A Realm Warp is going to be used by Bok Choy to group up with the rest of the squad. Bai's going to teleport in as well. Shiro's taking up a lot of damage in the front line. Dominus is popped here from the Renekton. They're trying to save their tier 2, but the Herald's going to take it down, and that now exposes them all to the rest of Dorado. Their front line is gone. The stun will maybe connect onto Bok Choy. They're trying to stack up the concussive blows. Can they do it? Yes, they can. The Rise will fall. The underneath the tower, but no one is dropping. Finally, the Renekton will fall, but it's still numbers advantage here for Dorado. They continue the siege. Now they might back on up, but there is that fearlessness, that aggression that they're bringing to the table here at the 18.5-minute mark.
They don't really have a wave, so they're just going to transition over to the top lane, group up with Kirigan, who has been pushing on that front, try to siege this one up. They've got the grub, so it should be easy once they've got their hands on that tower. The only one that stands between them and that objective is full clear, but he actually clears the wave in time to at least buy his team space to defend on this front, but it's small victories at this point, Ferris. Dorado Gaming, less than 20 minutes in, are 9K basically ahead of Legacy Amber. You got a 5-1-7 Xin Zhao, who is still at 2 items, which is his strongest point in the game. You've got Me Have Fun, who is getting close to that 3rd item. And now you've got Apex, who's 5-2. Every single member of this Dorado squad is primed and ready for a scrap. And Legacy Amber, they're not at their breakpoints yet where they can really fight.
They certainly cannot. This has been quite the opening game here, as we're going to get potentially another scrap here. Valdano is caught out once again, lingering for too long. Teleports are rolling on in for Legacy Amber. So I think it's going to jump in onto Kerrigan, though, who's out of position. Does have to use the flash to get out. Valdano is actually able to escape as well. Now Me Have Fun joins the party. Low HP bars for Legacy Amber. They're going to walk on out. The Otacon now making its way onto the rifts. Kind of corralling it is the side of Dorado. This is a very risky objective to try and start with the rest of the enemy team floating on around. Bok Choy flashes forward. Crescent Guard is going to be utilized. Here comes the Nature's Grasp rolling through. It's a 2 versus 4, but it looks like Dorado is holding their own for the moment. At the very least, USA gets some healing. Finally, he goes down, but now the cavalry is here. Me Have Fun is on the flank from the side. Apex is trying to follow it up as well. The Realm Warp gets 2 out, but the others are fodder, and they will die, and potentially, even without their jungler, Otacon could be next for Dorado.
I mean, Otacon feels like a foregone conclusion here, Ferris. It is impossible, even though Full Clear is alive and USA is dead. Just to get to that Otacon requires, tankiness and strength that you don't have as Legacy Amber's jungler at this point. And so it is going to be another objective for Dorado, who are just continuing to run away with this game. And it's crazy how quickly this game spiraled out of control. Legacy Amber were doing good in the inaugural minutes of this first game, but then Dorado managed to win out basically at the same time across the board. And ever since then, it has been a steam train that has refused to slow down, refused to stop, and runs over anyone who gets in its way. As we're going to take a replay on Me Have Fun solo kill, actually, because, he did get one on to play stop low. And look at that counterplay. 80 carry. You said, Ferris, that 80 carry was in an improper position balance-wise, but I feel like I tend to disagree with you when seeing something like that.
Yeah, you know what? That doesn't make me look very good, does it? Although I did say there's a caveat there. Usually when I'm complaining about this role, it's this role when it comes to a solo queue landscape. But Dorado has played very well as a team. They've worked with their 80 carries lead very well. And you know what? He's been doing the damage alongside a whole lot of other members there. He's been doing great. Apex has been doing great. Kerrigan as well, who I think is listed as a substitute, or at least one of the 2 mids. Nissan is the other one on this squad, but this was someone who made it all the way to the Titan Immortal Grand Final last split, unfortunately falling 3-0 to Maelstrom Esports.
That's right.
End of it. But this is a player who knows how to win, is familiar with solid teams, and so far is pretty happy with the situation he's in right now. Now it's time, crunch time here, Quacks. It's Soul.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kirigan, knowing what he needs to do, hasn't been the flashiest of players on Dorado, but that's okay because his team has just been running over Legacy Amber, and now they're going to get another chance to do so. Engaged by Legacy.
They're looking for Way, but Way is perfectly fine. Jumping in is Apex. He's got a whole lot of people around him, but now the rest of the squad is joining on up. Bok Choy is going to go golden. It might only delay the inevitable, though, because he's stunned up by the concussive blow. Slice and dice. Apex jumping on board. The rest of Dorado going to do the same. Stalbo, the only one left. This poor little Senna forced to try and defend the entirety of the base. They don't have a wave, but now they're looking towards bot lane. I think they might try and blow this base open and look for an end. I don't know if it's possible, though.
I don't know if it is either. I mean, you've got about 15 seconds until they come back up. You do have 2 grubs, but I would say if you're Dorado, you're in no rush for this game. So I would say a double inhibitor is probably a better look. Maybe they can only have time for the single inhib because they do have a dragon to return to, and that will be Soul. So that is going to end up happening. They don't get the mid inhibitor, but they break open the base on two fronts and manage to secure themselves that bot lane one, as well as Soul. So a bunch of advantages coming through here from Dorado. If they didn't have enough already, it is feeling very, very, very grim for Legacy Esports at this point.
Felt like the comms in that situation as well looked very good for Dorado. They might have expected, okay, Legacy is going to try and Hail Mary this at the Soul and look for a team fight there. Legacy actually engages before they really expected. They end up winning the team fight, and they're kind of thrown into a loop. Maybe they didn't plan for this to happen, but they handled the situation quite well. They send down USA to grab the Soul. The rest of the team cracks open the base. They allocate their resources nicely, and they kind of get the most out of that situation that was presented to themselves. I don't think it was possible to push for the end. The death timers were just a little bit too short. So when they're ahead, this team looks quite good in this Dorado side. And I mean, at this point, Soul in hand, the gold lead is over 10,000. It's just a matter of time. One more fight might just do the trick here.
Yeah, and it seems like Legacy are looking to try and establish some vision ahead of this Baron spawning in about 30 seconds, but it's just feeling very, very difficult to regain any kind of control. They're really trying, though.
They are. You can applaud it. Legacy Amber does not want to throw in the towel. If they're throwing in the towel, they're throwing it at the enemy, then charging on forward to their deaths. A little bit of reserve here from Dorado, not willing to just go for broke here and pull the trigger on this play. They're making sure that they get control around the Baron and that they can turn once they have their opponents where they want them. And I think they have them in a pretty good spot right here. They are a little bit concerned in the pit, but you know what? They're so far ahead. I don't think that's really going to matter. Of his team, he just can't do it. There's no damage from the side of Legacy Amber. They are completely unkillable. Is Dorado's side. This is an absolute shocking right now. Plastalbo tickles Shiro, and the shield will not break. The Braum will live, and the rest of Dorado will push down the base in a dominant game one victory. They'll take down the Nexus, and a great start to this best of three and their season here in the summer split of Titan Immortal 2025.
I mean, that wasn't even close. Dorado Gaming come up as the clear, defined, proud victors of game number one in this best of three series to open up our first week of the Titan Immortal League. You can see their names right there. Apex, USA, Kirigan, Me Have Fun, and Shiro, all of whom deserve their flowers. There was no clear MVP, in my opinion, Ferris, because this was, by definition, a team effort. And frankly, I know I might sound a little toxic saying this, but just a team gap, if I'm being completely honest with you.
I would say so myself as well. You know, they kind of called their shots in the draft. They picked champions who needed to get aggressive early on. Xin Zhao is a known duelist in the early game. Renekton likes to play for the lane, is a reliable champion outside of it, but if you can get those advantages, you can snowball like we saw in this one as well. And then you also saw the bot matchup. Corki is very skewed towards that lane phase, very strong early on, has good output later, but we were looking towards that Senna and that Rise for the side of Legacy Amber if the game did go long, and they were given the opportunities to make things happen. They took them and they ran with them. So it was a fantastic start. It felt like this team was on the same page with their calls, and also a little bit of resolve, because that start to the game didn't look so good.
Yeah, I mean, Dorado, it felt like had just the game plan locked down, like you said, Ferris. It also just felt like they played the lanes better, right? I mean, that Corki, I think, understanding his damage, Me Have Fun has, I honestly was impressed with some of the kills that he got, because I didn't think the damage was going to be enough. Turns out it was. So I think showing mastery of the characters that they played in that first game, but that mastery is not going to be able to translate over to the second game, as I believe we are on Fearless still here in the Immortal League. So all 10 champions that you saw in that first game not going to be accessible the second time around. That means we're going to have to see some diversity from Dorado Gaming if they want to close out this series in a dominant 2-0 fashion.
I think they have a couple more tricks up their sleeve. I think both teams do. For Legacy, it's going back to the drawing board, thinking what went wrong there. Maybe they need more oomph in the early game. Maybe they need to assess where they were on the map. Dorado for them to snowball, but we'll find out how they react to everything that went down in game number 2 when we come back from this break. Do not go anywhere. This best of 3 will continue right after this. Welcome back to week 1 of the Titan Immortal League here, a matchup between Dorado Gaming Alpha and Legacy Amber, with Dorado taking the first win of that best of 3 in quite dominant fashion. This organization, one that's known to do quite well in Titan Immortal, did quite well last season here. We're going to continue referencing last season as this is our first look at all of these new teams, or at least at these two. They're picking up where they left off. They dominated here. Legacy Amber, a bunch of new faces. New faces on Dorado too, with Kerrigan in the mid lane. But now it's time for them to bounce back and show us if they've got anything to show in this week number 1.
And now I think, it's about, you talk about bounce back, Ferris, and I agree with you, but I think bounce back extends, at least after a game like that for Legacy Amber, it extends to just physically bouncing back in terms of series, right? That seemed like a game where Legacy looked a little bit tilted. They were constantly looking for engages, constantly looking for fights, and just basically trying to throw themselves at a wall and seeing if they would stick to get themselves an advantage, which, of course, never happened, as we saw in game number 1. So I do want to see Legacy bounce back mentally and just form a, I would say, really cohesive plan going forward, not just into game 2, but if they win, going further into this series, potentially game 3. And I like what we saw in game number 1, right? Play for the Senna, play for the Rise, play for your scaling lanes, and go from there. Have that kind of patience that we emphasized in that game 1 draft, but that all kind of fell apart. So I am looking at them to just try and have a cohesive strategy like that. Doesn't have to be the same one, but you need to have a game plan going up against Dorado, because they've shown that if you don't stick to it and you aren't consistent and you get caught out, they will punish you and they will definitely run away with the game.
I actually think it can't be the same strategy, because one of the big problems I found with what they had in game 1, well, they did have, again, you can always look at some things that will work in the ideal case for a certain team composition, but they didn't have any agency in the early game. No lane was winning. They just couldn't play in the early game. There's nothing you could do. You couldn't contest Drakes. You were weaker in the skirmishes. They need to put someone on a champion or get someone a matchup, whether it's bot lane, mid lane, or top lane, something that can actually win early on, something they can play through to then bridge the gap to a strong late game if that's what they want to go for here in game.
Yeah, I like that call out, Ferris. More agency in the early games. Just try and translate that, or put that to good use in getting objectives, getting neutrals, and being more aggressive around the map. I think that's a really good call out, as we are making our way through the bans here in game number 1. Fiddlesticks, Vladimir, Pantheon, Talia, Ambessa, Jinx. So we still have some B1 pickups ready and willing to go. Things that I think about are, you could go for flexes like the Cho'Gath, obviously did get nerfed but are still strong. You could go for the Gwen as well, which was banned away in that first draft, is still incredibly strong. And I don't know how familiar USA is with the Gwen, but if you have a jungler that knows how to play it, it can be a very volatile flex going into whatever game it's played for.
Can confirm USA does play the Gwen. So that is why so willing to blind pick this was Dorado. They can play in both roles if need be. Now we're seeing a little bit of a change here. Legacy Amber gonna lock in the Misfortune for Plastalbo, a much more aggressive AD carry in the early game, something with a whole lot more power. Now locking in the Sejuani means that they might want to look for some of these melee champions in their solo laners and get some power up there as well, looking for wombo combos with bullet time, strong laners. We'll see what the picks are going to be. They're just going to blind their Rel here into the support role. Varus Rel going to be the response.
Not surprised at all to see that. Beautiful counter over to the Misfortune, and also a really good pairing that you can deny with the Misfortune. So I think that is a good pick there coming out for Dorado. It kind of kills two birds with one stone, and it also focuses more on Legacy having to pick up that Alistar, which, while it is a good matchup for the Alistar, just being able to, I think, dissuade and disengage a lot of those fight starters like the Rel, it could also put him in a situation where he now finds himself in danger, right? Because you have to go forward in order to go for that headbutt. And so I am looking at Legacy to give some more frontliners over to the Alistar. Obviously, we have that Sejuani already paired and locked up, but I'm really looking at that top lane to be someone where Alistar can play a little bit further up in a lot of those neutral corridors that we want to see him go for.
A lot of melee champions banned. The Silas and the Jace actually taken away by Legacy Amber. The Darius, the most played champion for Bay, is taken away. Does play the Yone too, so this could be a flex though. It could still go over to Bok Choi. They're going to save that last pick here, putting Legacy Amber, quite frankly, in a really good position here for this R5 pickup. Dorado going to respond with an Akali, something that could be punished in the lane by something with range if they do want to do that and throw. Let's see what they rounded out with. Is this Gwen going to go top? Going to go into the jungle? It's not. They're gonna blind the Ornn. We've got ourselves a Gwen jungle. R5 coming up for Legacy.
And I like this a lot. I think that Ornn, you know, a lot of people, when they think about him, they think about the Ornn horn, but they also think about the ornaments, Ferris. And I think when you've got late game carries like the Varus, like the Gwen, I think if you could pair up the item breakpoints with those champions and then the level advantage with the Ornn, if you could sync all of that together, you become really strong toward that late game. And I think it could be a real surprise for Legacy if they are in a, you know, a state where they are automatically winning, like what we saw in game number 1 with what Dorado did. But I like this comp a lot better from Legacy than what we saw in game number 1. For starters, Ferris, it's like you said, they have a lot more agency in the lanes, particularly looking at that Annie and looking at that Yone. Easy lockups for full clear to, you know, bounce off of and really get a CC train going, and then you can get your lanes ahead. So a lot of upfront damage, a lot of front-loaded damage for the side of Legacy. It's just a matter of what they do with it. My biggest concern, though, is that full clear really is going to be looked at to be that defined tank for the team. Obviously, you have the Alistar, but I feel like with supports, you kind of have an asterisk of them being tanks because their job at the end of the day is to protect their AD carry, which, I mean, Valdanio is going to have to do because that full bullet time is what's going to win you the team fights.
We have a Poke Varus for Me Have Fun. So it's going to be a very lane-oriented pick. So once again, Shiro and Me Have Fun going to be on the aggressive end of things. We've already talked about the fact that Alistar does well into Rel. It could be something that stifles their prowess in that 2v2. I want to remind everyone, if you missed game number 1, it wasn't the best from Valdanio, constantly being caught out on the Leona, looking for vision, getting too over aggressive in these plays. Now playing something that's a little bit more reserved, and albeit as well, something that he's much more comfortable on. Top 2 champions in solo queue being Karma and Alistar. It's about 70 games on this pick. So something they're more comfortable on, something that has a little bit of a different style. Maybe they find more success in this one and can kind of redeem themselves here for Legacy Amber.
Yeah, absolutely. Legacy Amber have a tall mountain to climb in this best of 3 in order to turn it into their favor as a result, but they're definitely up to the challenge with this draft. I do want to point out that we're definitely going to be looking at these solo lanes, I think, to be a lot more action-packed for Legacy. We want to see the Sejuani bounce off of the Annie and just constantly be making plays happen, especially with Apex being in the mid lane on this Ornn. Does have that mobility, but is still susceptible to getting chunked out. Look at the bot lane, a big chunk onto play Stablo. This is just something you have to be careful on as the Misfortune. You are squishy, and Shiro is just constantly looking for these engages.
Well, Shiro finding that engage there, if that was on a level 2 timer, that was definitely summoners off of the Misfortune or a dead Misfortune at that. This is interesting, though. So the lane swap comes through. I guess Kerrigan wants this matchup, the Akali into the Yone, and so they're fine to put the Ornn in the mid lane. Now, how is this going to kind of shake up when it comes to neutral objectives, when it comes to Ornn being in this less isolated position? Is he going to be able to help out as much with the team as something like an Akali would, who can roam and get big kills onto squishier targets, especially if that roam is down bot lane? Akali likes to be involved in the action around all that's happening, kind of like a roam-esque type of mid laner, not so much like a Katarina or anything, but it kind of just shows you that Kerrigan values this 1 versus 1 more than being in this very, I guess, action-heavy part of the map. So we'll see what he can pull off in this 1 versus 1, if he's got any magic tricks hidden up his sleeve.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a volatile top lane matchup, but I think the biggest thing that Dorado are missing out on by putting the Ornn, at least in the mid lane, is lack of priority, right? We're going to be seeing, I think, Full Clear have a lot more opportunities as the Sejuani to make aggressive plays onto USA. And even at the very least, if not aggressive plays, just try to track where this Gwen is. Because at the end of the day, Dorado's late game insurance is going to be Gwen with those ornaments. As,
Oh, wow.
There we go.
That's going to be a kill. The Ornn is down. Full clear makes it happen once again. It's Legacy Amber with first blood in this game, similar to game number 1. And the kill going over. Actually, I'm not sure who that kill actually went over to. If it did go over to the Annie, so that's good. Yeah, more burst potential in her hands. She's getting towards her big spikes. That's exactly how you want to start this game off. And now this kind of puts pressure. It's like you guys swap the lanes here. Now the Ornn is struggling. We need to see some type of value being got here. Maybe once Kerrigan is level 6, that's when things are going to turn up.
Yeah, good little trade there by Kerrigan. Going back to that mid lane play for just a moment. Full clear, having to expend his flash on the Sejuani, so won't have that up for the future. Probably not going to be too consequential, as still obviously does have some mobility with that Q. Just has to probably use it a little bit more, safely. Just a clean lockup here. Electrocute, getting that last little tick of damage onto Apex. As now USA is actually going for a bit of an aggressive play.
In trouble. Here comes Bok Choy. I mean, jumping in with the Searing Charge is the Ornn, but flashing inside of the Hallowed Mist is Bok Choy, and USA trying to run for the hills, but the Permafrost connects, and that will be the kill that goes down onto full clear now too, into the hands of Legacy Amber. Dorado thought they were springing the trap, but that wasn't the case. Bok Choy rolls on around and says, "Get the hell out of my jungler's jungle."
Yeah, I mean, USA looking for that aggressive maneuver onto the enemy's Raptors, but I feel like, Apex obviously still does have the flash, but so does Bok Choy, and Bok Choy resetting with that last chapter means that item advantage goes over to Legacy Amber for that 2v2. It's just Gwen not respecting the damage difference between the mid laners in this game. We see yet another kill go over to Legacy. This time, though, it's full clear that picks that one up, as now Bok Choy free to roam because there's a play in bot side.
USA tried to look for the gang. Full clear is here as well, jumping on in, but he's just going to be canceled. USA is getting very low, finally finds that snip down to grab that one onto the Sejuani, but Pastalbo should be able to get that trade kill. Flash forward from Veldanio to headbutt back the Rel and get 2 kills to the Misfortune. Legacy Amber, they've come back with a vengeance in game 2. They're making the plays happen. They're matching the aggression of Dorado early on, and it's gotten them into a very good spot here, 1.5K up at 6 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, play
hold on a
stop
second.
low.
He's going to get that cancel. He's going to flash away, though, from the 5-point strike. Gets the shield to get out. It looks like he may be able to. Kerrigan cannot find that last bit of damage. The shield from his W saved his life there, Quacks. That is insane.
Yeah. Bai manages to get out of that 1v1. It was looking extremely doomed for the Yone. He makes it happen, though. It doesn't have TP, so I actually don't think he'll miss anything as a result. You can see the current wave state of top lane, and I think it's just a Kali having to push that one out. It's just going to be in a neutral state when those 2 waves inevitably crash. But this Dragon is not in a neutral state. It's being taken by Legacy, and this is exactly what we talked about. Priority in the mid lane, just a lot more ease for Legacy to maneuver around the map and take these away from Dorado, who really want to get that scaling train up as soon as possible. The only kill that they have gotten so far is onto USA with this Gwen, who we've talked about needs to be that late game insurance, needs to be that win condition. So they've got it started. It's just the fact that they don't have anything to back it up because Legacy are in control of a lot of this neutral space so far.
And the team compositions as well, it just feels much more well-rounded for Legacy. So it feels like if there isn't that lead in the hands of Dorado, just looking at these compositions pound for pound, I very much like what Legacy Amber have crafted for themselves. Even when you look at the lethality Varus too, alongside an Akali, you're very burst oriented. You want to find that snap engage with the Rel. Maybe Ornn starts things off, and then you want to get your burst off. Your cooldowns are very long, and you're very reliant on these. So it's going to come down to execution for Dorado. This start has not been good for them so far. They're looking for a play up in the top side, but Full Clear's waiting in the brush as well as Apex and Bai are going at it. And it doesn't look like Apex likes any of these matchups that he has for himself. And bot lane's looking pretty darn good too as Bok Choy gets kill number 2 of the game. The Gwen is down for a 3rd time.
Yeah, Gwen, yet again, USA overextends and he gets punished as Apex actually ulted in the mid lane. There's something going on there, but okay, yeah, it's just Bai maybe looking for a dive hit. I don't really think he has an angle here. Will get the Q3, but will not have a wave, so won't be able to finish the job. Will, however, be able to take a clean reset because he has the safety of his jungler nearby. Full clear, just taking away those grubs. So second objective here claimed for Legacy. They have a monopoly over those neutrals thus far. Dorado Gaming, I mean, it's not really for lack of trying. It's just for the fact that Legacy have been playing the map a lot better. It feels like the river control has been really, really good in game number 2, and it's something that they have fixed significantly from game number 1, where they basically had no control of any part of the map whatsoever.
Exactly. It's been a full 180 of what they've been able to do. We've already talked about the fact that they have more agency in this game. They have stronger laners. They have better matchups. And I think full clear, I mean, it was kind of hard to really assess their performance in game 1 because you couldn't really see the impact there. I guess that kind of speaks for itself. But full clear this time around in this game has been fantastic. Not only making plays happen for the squad, but also just kind of reading USA like a book. Every time USA has gone for ganks, the Sejuani's been there to shut him down. And I kind of feel like USA just needs to stop looking for these kills and just power farm. Just get to your item spikes. Like just disappear and then come back at 20 minutes like the Gwens in solo queue do. And it's like, oh, wait, this guy's got 3 items. Game's kind of over.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Gwen, we're usually looking at this as a champion that likes to full clear. Ironically enough, the guy that's not named full clear, that's his job in this game as the Gwen. And it feels like he has been just trying to be a little bit too proactive, right? Because you don't have river control. You don't really have territory that you are able to claim at this point. You've just got to focus on your own game as the Gwen. You are kind of the carry for your team. And so putting yourself in a compromising position like this over and over, it really just delays Dorado's ability to play off of that late game, like you said, Ferris. And that's something that they really want to bank on because so far this early game just isn't going their way.
And again, I always look towards the marksmans. I love talking about the marksmans. And I'm a big hater of Lethality Varus in 2025, specifically because when the lane goes like this, shenanigans happen, and now you're behind and you can't really do anything. You don't have anything to look forward to. This pick just kind of sucks later on unless you can get, like I was talking about earlier, the dream wombo combo. So me have fun. Again, maybe not having so much fun in this one. You're not going to be able to find that same level of strength he had in that game 1 as the Corki. And so, again, more emphasis on the reliance of the Gwen and the Akali to get online for Dorado to try and pick it up here and look for something to get themselves back into it.
I mean, the bot lane for Dorado just seems like fodder in this game, if I'm being completely honest with you, as hang on, Bok Choy.
Kerrigan jumps in. He uses the R2 as well to close the gap. The Tibbers did not matter. Kerrigan wants to close the gap. The flash is going to get Bok Choy to safety. He just stands tall, and the Annie will not fall. That is the solo kill into the hands of Bok Choy. Things gone from bad to worse for Dorado's side.
It was a good look there for Kerrigan, but Bok Choy unfortunately just has too much damage on this Annie. Malignant picked up, now has the Sork shoes, so that magic resist. What little Dorado have is just going to matter less and less, as we still have this Annie going toward the top lane, which I honestly like. It'll have TP by the time this dragon comes, so you can afford to put pressure on top lane and not give up too much as a result, as we're going to get a little bit of a replay here. Kerrigan, yeah, I mean, the look is good. He lands the Shuriken, gets the ult, gets the Conqueror proc, and just 1 HP for Kerrigan. That auto would have surely finished the job on the Annie, but it comes up too late. And now Legacy Amber, their mid laner, is just so unbelievably strong. I said before we had that top lane fight, Ferris, that me have fun is probably just going to be collateral damage in this game, because Bok Choy, it's an ant. Basically, at this point for the Annie, it is just an afterthought. 1 stray ult into Q, likely going to just annihilate the Varus before he can do anything.
Absolutely. There's quite literally not a whole lot that you can do except stay out of range and, well, chuck some piercing arrows their way and hope that does something here. As we're going to see a 1 versus 1. Bai has the level advantage, but Kerrigan all game long has been very confident to take these plays, even though they haven't necessarily gone his way so far. And this one doesn't look like he's going his way either. As Baki just gonna flack the wall, find the solo kill. The snapback is enough, and once again the Akali will fall. Bai able to pick up the solo kill, the first kill of the game for the Yone. Add another one on top for the entire squad of Legacy Amber. Feels like everyone is feeling themselves at this point, Quacks.
Yeah, it's opposite day here for game number 2. I mean, Legacy Amber losing in the first, kind of 8 minutes of the game, not really able to rein control back for themselves. And now Dorado find themselves in a similar situation as what a frame to pause on.
Right as the Shattering Strike is going down. And there it will complete. And I think that's just going to put a stop in the places. Nope. Maybe not. Valdano is wanting to go jump on in. Rel is locked up there with the Glacial Prison. Here comes the bullet time. That's not going to find a whole lot. Valdano is getting very low. He will fall to that final tower shot.
But
the cavalry, it's here. It's a flank from hell. The Annie is so dangerous. Kerrigan, though, teleports on in. Tries to find Full Clear, who cancels him with the Arctic Assault. Now he's got an Annie to worry about. The R2 away. Yeah, everyone wants to get away from this Annie. Does not have flash. Probably is not able to close the gap here. But the defense of the tower is definitely not going to be available either.
The defense of Full Clear as well for his AD carry was immaculate. Arctic Assault to stop Kerrigan from getting toward that misfortune. Just expertly covering for one of his carries. It is a kill going over to Dorado. And so, celebrate the small wins, but it is still a advantage for Legacy as, they don't get a kill, but they still get that bot lane turret. All 4 plates belong to them right as they're about to fall in just a couple of seconds. And now it allows for, Plistablo and Valdano to be a lot more mobile around the map. You can already see that Alistar in mid lane. Misfortune is making its way up toward the top side. We're probably going to be actually seeing a lane swap for the side of Legacy. And, I like that, just to give your AD carry more gold before these team fights inevitably start ramping up.
We also have that Herald spawning very soon, something that Legacy Amber, if they want to keep on rolling with the punches and the momentum that they have, acquiring that is definitely going to be something that they're thinking about, is they're clearing away the vision around the mid lane, trying to make sure that it's a guessing game for Dorado. Can we step into this bush? Can we contest this objective? Can we get vision? Can we do anything right now? Because our opponents could be lingering inside of a brush, waiting to take us down. Again, a lot of burst on the table. They need to know where Bok Choy is before they enter any type of river confrontation. Otherwise, you're just going to get blown up by the Tibbers. They could be looking for a play onto the Ornn in a little bit of an isolated spot, but just going to back on up. And I think the play right now is just, take the free Herald that's sitting right in front of you.
Yeah, and I think Dorado understand the play being made by Legacy. You can see they're really overloading on the bot side. In fact, Bai might be in a little bit of trouble on the minimap. I can see that he is very isolated. Yup, and there goes Kerrigan getting the shutdown.
Well, that's something. Again, that's a kill. Finally a kill onto Kerrigan there. A cross-map play being made, where the cross-map play of their own is being utilized here by Legacy. They're going to make this a 1-for-1, and they get that Herald. But, for Dorado's side, this is a better look for them that they've gotten in, pretty much all game. They're also going to be able to take down this tier 1 in the mid lane, but that's just going to be traded too. So Legacy, despite having some losses here and there, they're still able to make sure that it isn't all a positive trade here for Dorado. And actually, they're totally fine with how this has ended up shaking out.
Yeah, I mean, Legacy get the top turret, and Dorado actually can't get that bot lane turret. It was extremely healthy by the time Kerrigan started hitting it, and I mean, you don't have the grubs. Bok Choy's able to TP, so not going to be able to find that one. They're also going to manage to chunk out the mid lane turret, but nothing being found for Dorado except for that shutdown, which is crucial, like you said, Ferris, but it is just a little bit of gold over to Kerrigan for the time being. The real test is going to be in about 2 minutes. Legacy Amber at the behest of potentially getting that soul point. And again, this is the exact same situation we found ourselves in for, game number 1, where it was just dominance, a monopoly over the neutrals, and the opposing team not really able to respond in time.
And the dangerous part, if we were going to talk about ways for Dorado to claw themselves back into this game, what they did there by taking down Bai, that is pretty much their only option. And if you actually take a look at these team compositions too, and just what they're good at, team fights are kind of the name of the game here, more so for Legacy than it is for Dorado. Dorado probably wants to move their very mobile champions around the map, like the Akali, like the Rel, who can make plays happen and just pick people off across the map to try and get themselves some advantages, some kills onto their carries, and make sure that no team fight can really ever be found here by Legacy.
Yeah. It's really hard, I feel, for the side of Dorado because, like you said, they can't really team fight. Like, obviously, they've got the Ornar, they've got the Rel R, they've got these AoE spells, but a lot of the carry potential, like, a lot of their carries are more single-target focused, right? Like, Gwen is, I would say, better in team fights when you're fighting in, like, narrow corridors where that needlework can hit multiple targets. Same goes for the Varus, where the chains can, latch onto multiple members. So I think it's just about, for the side of Dorado is where you fight, right? Like, it's just as important as where you fight as when you fight. Because if you are fighting in a big open space where people can just run the other way and avoid the brunt of your damage, then this comp gets, I would say, significantly stifled because they're not able to cover large distances with a lot of their damage, right? Gwen can't hit everybody if they're all dispersed out. Same goes for Varus, and same especially goes for Akali.
So it just really ups the importance of reading your opponent's movements around the map here. If you are, Legacy, make sure they aren't able to find those kills, aren't able to claw their way back in, and, just continue to match everything that they're doing around the map. If you have the even numbers advantage, then that's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial towards you. So, yeah, I mean, we have ourselves just a small pause, but we'll roll with the punches here and kind of battle the spectator delay issues here. But, for Legacy, this just has been a whole turnaround, and it's looking very likely at this stage of the game that a game 3 could be on the horizon, which would be a pretty solid way to start off our season here in Titan.
Absolutely, especially from what we expected after game number 1. I was expecting that I would probably be able to get out of this cast, Ferris, before my Jersey Mike's dearly beloved sandwich joint right next to my house would close. But it seems like we are not living in that world. So we definitely are more than likely going to go to a game number 3. And I do like that, especially because of the way that games number 1 and 2 so far have shaken out, which has just been dominance across the board, right? Dorado absolutely owning game number 1, Legacy Amber owning game number 2 at the current moment.
We'll see if they can continue that dominance. If we look at the gold lead, though, 30,000, it's a 2.5K lead for Legacy. That's not a lead that is insurmountable. It's definitely possible here for Dorado. My biggest concern when it comes to what the actual problem is, and we've talked about this so much, we've kind of hit the nail on the head, is just the fact that they don't really function as well later on. They're more of a team that kind of just operates in the chaos and with the leads. They don't have that right now. So again, how well can Legacy Amber can maintain their composure? They weren't in this situation in game 1. Can they be as efficient as Dorado was when they were in this spot? It's looking pretty good so far. They're getting control around that Drake. Soul Point could be on the cards for them very early on, very similar to what we saw last time.
I mean, you could see USA is on the top side. So it sounds and looks like Dorado don't have too much of a concern around going for that neutral. As USA actually gets spotted because of the incoming minion wave on the top side does grant you vision of that pocket on the Krugs. So they know where the Gwen is. They know that they're really in no position to lose this dragon. They're just going to immediately go onto it. And Legacy pick themselves up an easy soul point pre-20-minute 3 dragons, just like we saw in game number 1. And Dorado really going to have to kind of defy fate and defy the repeat here around this 4th dragon if they want any hope of coming back here in this game.
It's just so hard to actually get into the pit. They do have engage, but it's very one-dimensional. It's going to be Rel walking at you, well, maybe ideally from a flank or an Ornhorn from a flank angle or from downtown. But it's even with that, it's going to be so difficult to walk in because Ornn can't really tank anything for that long. He's so far behind that you have to catch multiple people in your engage and then snap win the fight to actually get into the river and contest these objectives. Otherwise, Legacy Amber's really going to have the vision locked down, and they're going to be able to kind of just see you coming and really prepare for this fight. So if they can stay in a spot of control, it's going to be very hard for that soul to be denied. As Bai's going to try and jump in here onto Apex. He's actually using
clearing the wave.
Fate Seal to clear the wave. Here comes the call of the Forge God, though. They're looking for the dive. This is what we wanted to see here from Dorado. The question is it going to work out? The tower aggro has been dropped, and now it's being tanked by the Ornn. It's taking so long to take down the Yone. Finally, he will fall. as the response is going to be Herald summoned up on the bot side, or the top side rather, of the map.
And honestly, respect to Bai. I think he played that situation about as well as he possibly could have. He almost turned that into a 1-for-1, but just goes down right at the last moment where I think one more turret shot would have finished off a kill for him. But like you said, Legacy getting more on the top side of the map. They get not one, but two turrets, or almost two turrets broken. Otacon is on that side of the map as well, similar to what we saw in game number 1. And Legacy have so much control over that side, it's not even funny.
They're going to take away the camps, deny as much gold as they possibly can, but Full Clear has to be careful, though. Jumping over the wall is USA. They could look for this fight. Going to use the Arctic Assault to try and get away. He is slowed up, though, and now they're going to start the fight up, though, but that's a big pulverize. Kerrigan's just going to fall to the bullet time. TP coming in as well. Shiro finds the CC onto 2. Now the flank is here. The Orin is here. Me Have Fun is in the back line. 1 versus 1 against the Annie. Bai jumps on in as well. Q3 knockup. This looks like a fight win for Legacy. On the other side, the Varus is solo killed by Bok Choi. One more member to go for the full ace. Plasteelbo still taking the tower. Isn't going to fall in the end. And the fight win goes to Legacy Amber, though close and a really solid attempt at the very least from Dorado.
Yeah, 4-for-1 win there for Legacy, and it was just Plastablo rather, sorry, getting the full bullet time. Yeah, I mean, the longer names, sometimes we mispronounce them. But yeah, he got the full 2-item misfortune bullet time on that fight in a choke point. So Dorado really were in no position to continue that fight. They still kept looking, but their health bars were significantly chunked out. Bai returns fire right when his team needs him to. He comes up from the top rope from behind Dorado and manages to help finish the job. It's one survivor in Apex for Dorado, but Legacy showing up here in game number 2. And not only is this a win, this is redemption for that first game in my eyes.
Yeah, showing that they can compete with at least this Dorado Gaming Alpha team. And they felt like maybe they were a little bit embarrassed in game, because quite frankly they were, but now kind of flipping the script there, making the reverse of it, as Shiro's getting way deep, looking for as robust a vision as you possibly can, because we are working our way towards this potential soul. But it's not quite happening yet. They're kind of just looking for a Hail Mary play, but I don't know if Valdanio is going to be that you want. Here comes a bullet time. It's massive. It forces everyone away. Bok Choi is looking to blow up the Gwen. He finds the Varus head, but he will fall to the needlework. Now the fight could be turning towards Dorado's side. The Yone cannot join the party, and now it's 4 versus 2. Full Clear looking to try and run on away. Kerrigan gets the R2 towards him. This is a very tanky Sejuani, takes forever to drop, and the Arctic Assault will bring him to safety. The aggression here, the unrelenting spirit of Dorado to try and make plays, nets them a couple kills.
Yeah, now it looks like Legacy, they're trying to stall the back so that they can't catch the minion wave. But that was a big resounding win for Dorado, especially ahead of this dragon coming up in a little less than a minute. They burned key crucial ults and summoners off of members of Legacy. I'm most notably looking at Bok Choi, who will likely have that Tibbers up by the time the dragon fight rolls around, but will not have the flash. So if Apex or Shiro or Me Have Fun can look for a stray bullet of CC onto that Annie, they could find a crucial member for this fight. And you know, it's really just about getting that pick. This team, this comp runs off of momentum. All it takes is one kill, and this really is going to be their last chance. They deny Soul here if they win. Hell, even if they get aced and they can get the dragon, that is still them stalling out the timer, Ferris.
USA has been able to purchase himself an entire Rift Maker on that reset, a huge buy,
yeah,
but there is no resistances on this Gwen. If he can avoid the damage from the Annie, the CC from the Sejuani, and break loose in this fight, USA has the damage to absolutely ruin the health bars of anyone standing in their way. The question is, can you stay safe? They have the priority of the river, jumping on in. Here comes the Ornhorn as well. Bok Choi is down. Bai jumps into the back line. He's getting very low. Bullet time going to be used. Kerrigan gets the R2 to knock down the Yone. Now Valdez target. USA is able to grab that kill. It's 3-4-0 Dorado. They found their moment. They got the priority of the Drake, and when it mattered the most, they delivered, and they have won the biggest team fight of the game so far for themselves.
And Dorado show up when it matters. A massive Magnet Storm by Shiro, followed up by a massive Orin Horde from Apex, and the carries get to clean house. It is a 3-0. Dorado get the dragon. They stall out this game even more, and Legacy Esports are put on their toes for the first time in game 2.
It was an incredible engage from Shiro. The Annie could not even get the Tibbers off before she was down, but now they might have overstayed their welcome. Apex is getting very low.
Yeah.
Bok Choi's teleported in, finds the stun here onto Shiro. The play will continue. They're trying to find the chase. Bai is on the flank as well. That will be 2 kills. Maybe
Oh no,
USA.
USA.
USA is overextended. Gonna try and jump onto Valdineo now. He's just gonna try and stall for the rest of the team. Does have Bok Choy pulling on up, but Kerrigan is here as well. The exhaust goes down. Now Bok Choy looking for the stun. Is going to find it. Has to jump into the mist, but there's an Akali sitting right here. Is gonna down. Now the 2 versus 2 is being won right here by USA and Kerrigan. The mid jungle duo of Dorado. They take them down, but on the other side, Quacks, the Baron is being taken.
I mean, it's going to be Legacy Amber that get the Nasher at the end of the day. USA is on the other side of the map. Nobody on Dorado can run interference for this objective, but it is only going to be kept on to 3. So still, it's not the end of the world as Mia Fun just gets obliterated out of nowhere, Ferris.
It's only a couple of auto attacks that you need to take down a lethality Varus that is this far behind. And Bai is able to do that, finds him. He actually left his spirit at the Baron pit, walked on up to clear vision, found the Baron, and was like, okay, I got Q3, you're a goner, man. You don't have to use anything at all. And well, that's the damage potential of this Yone. And again, the strength of this Legacy Amber squad. Do not get mistaken because of these last couple of plays. These guys are very much in the winning position, still 4,000 gold ahead. The execution, though, Quacks, has just been that much better for Dorado, and the reason they're still in this.
It absolutely has. And now the big focus, the big target has to be play Stablo on this Misfortune worth 1,000 gold, 700 gold shutdown. But it's a little bit more difficult because has Flash, has Cleanse, all of the defense that you want as an AD carry is available for the ADC of Legacy Amber. So the onus is on Dorado to try and find an angle onto this carry because it's not just, the Annie anymore. It's now the Misfortune who is getting on toward those 3 items, has 50% crit plus the IE, and is going to be maneuvering around the map extremely fast. So Dorado have to be very, very snappy with their engages, like what they saw, or like what they did rather, and like what we saw rather at the Dragon, where we got to see that combo, we got to see the sync of those ultimates, and we got the first glimpse into Dorado maybe making a comeback here in game 2.
Such a tense situation that we've now found ourselves in this game. USA now in the 3 items again, working towards that 4th. I assume it's going to be the Zonies. Actually cancels here, looking for the 1-shot, but Bok Choy is a stun, locked and loaded, ready to go. This was not the right choice if you're USA. Even with all the other members around, that Annie is ready to just tear you apart. There's no resistances. And I guess USA in the moment called the audible, thought he had the damage. Unfortunately, wasn't able to work out, and now Dorado, without their jungler for the next 35 seconds, they're going to try and mount a defense.
Yeah, they're going to, but they have the Baron. They've lost their biggest piece on the board. Dorado have to turtle, have to give up so much while this Gwen is dead. You see Kerrigan trying to stall out Bai for a little bit, but look at the mid lane. The walls are closing in. Inhibitor is going to fall, and a massive wave plus Tibbers. Honestly, Legacy can make this base their home with how many minions they have backing them, but they're going to choose to disengage for the time being. They'll settle for 2 inhibitors, which I honestly think is the right play. We saw a similar decision being made by Dorado in game number 1, and it was one that netted them the win. So Legacy repeating the formula for success.
I do think it is the right choice. You don't want to coin flip games when it's in your favor, right? Like, you will find yourself a good fight if you have priority around an objective. No need to coin flip at this stage of the game. Maybe give over an Elder Drake. Or actually, it's not going to be an Elder Drake because the Hextech Drake was secured. A soul, and I guess another 5 minutes of your potential soul denied again from Dorado if you do end up getting aced. And we do have respawning Nexus towers on this season, so not even as valuable if you can't quite get to that Nexus. But now Kerrigan could be in some trouble. He's running right into Bok Choy. What an expert flank this was. Hello! You are gone, my friend. What a flank play there from Bok Choy. Mid laner for Dorado down. 18 seconds to go on the Soul.
Yeah, this is almost certainly going to go over to Legacy. USA is still up, has the smite available, but it's such an arduous journey to even get near the pit, much less in the pit, in range to actually hit that dragon. So Dorado gonna have to turtle yet again. So they're gonna give up Soul. Legacy gonna pick that one up, and also just continue, allocating a lot of their members toward key points to maximize their pressure. They put 2 members in bot lane, understanding that they don't really have to send everyone to go for this dragon. They can afford to fan out with how strong they are at this point and stretch Dorado thin.
Kind of feels like it was just a flash in the pan here for Dorado. They win the fight. They delay the soul for a little bit, but it didn't matter. In the end, it's Legacy Amber with this powerful buff in their hands. And they're just so far ahead. It's so difficult to try and engage because there's just so many members that can just burst you immediately. But Kerrigan has found by Solo and isolated here. The Immortal Shield was going to give him one. If he doesn't give it the fake sail, the outplay is there. Plus Salvo is going to grab the kill. And now the play will continue for Dorado. The bullet time is going to tear them to shreds. Me Have Fun is not able to deal the damage. The lethality Varus is not in the spot he wants to be in. We said they had a weak game 1, but it looks like game number 2, the full 180 is in. That's a pentakill for the Misfortune. Exactly what you want if you're Legacy Amber, and they're rolling straight into game 3 with some momentum.
And play Stablo and Legacy Esports with a statement game number 2 saying game 1 was a warm-up. Now it's the real deal.
It certainly was, and they came to play. I really feel Full Clear stepped up the most for the squad, making plays happen, getting both Bok Choy, well, mostly Bok Choy ahead with those couple of kills, but really maneuvering around the map to shut down any plays that this Gwen on the other side for Dorado Alpha tried to make and set up the rest of the team for success. This Annie pick on R5 was brilliant for Legacy Amber as well. Bok Choy got so much value out of this, a thorn in the side of pretty much everyone on Dorado, because you couldn't walk up to anything because Annie is going to be right there to slam the door in your face. The only team fight win that they had is when they one-shot that Annie before Summon Timbers could go down.
Yeah, absolutely. But that Annie is going to be locked behind Fearless for game number 3. And what a game 3 it is going to be, Ferris. I am extremely excited. Game number 1 and 2, they have been extremely lopsided for the teams that have won. And so I think that this is an amazing series to introduce Immortal here in the summer. But there can only be one winner. So while we wait for our 2 teams to gear on up for game number 3, the climactic finale of this best of 3, we are going to take a small little break. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
like do 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 do, like do 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 crazy, oh 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 crazy, oh 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 crazy crazy, oh oh crazy, oh 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 crazy, do 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 crazy, do 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 crazy, do 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 crazy, do 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 crazy crazy, do do like do 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 do, like do 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 crazy, oh do do like do 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 do, like do 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 crazy, oh.
Welcome back to the opening week of Titan Immortal Summer 2025. Dorado Gaming out and Legacy Amber have gone toe-to-toe for 2 games, each winning 1 game apiece. Best of 3 has now is going to come to a conclusion for this 3rd game here that is on the horizon. A dominant win in game 1 for Dorado, a maybe less dominant, but also still quite convincing win from Legacy Amber in game 2. Full bounce back. It felt like they did exactly what we said they should do, Quacks, and gave themselves more agency to play early on, and they were able to get the leads they wanted, and they ran with it. But now with both teams with wins on the board, it's time for that do or die situation here. The stakes are the very first win of the season up for grabs.
Yup, I mean, we're going to want to see the best from both of these teams going into game number 3. We saw it in game number 1 for Dorado. We saw it in game number 2 for Legacy. And now we're hoping that the culmination, the cauldron of those best performances come together to blend into a beautiful game number 3. And I like how you kind of put that, Ferris. I feel like the strategy from Legacy in game number 2 was crystal clear, picking things up like the Annie, things like the Misfortune, being really reliant on those ultimates. And once those level 6s came through, pulling the trigger, putting your foot on the gas, whatever you want to say, whatever analogy you want to go with for just executing the combo correctly. That's exactly what Legacy did. And that's what we're hoping to see here in game number 3 from them. But for the Dorado, though, it is about that bounce back, finding the form that you had in game number 1. And, you know, obviously having to substitute the champions that you had in game number 1 because we are in Fearless and try and get the same result.
They were able, or unable, at least from Dorado's side, to get that second win, get that sweep here. If you look at what they played in the last game, again, it was very risky what they drafted. They really needed to get Gwen and Akali online. They needed the lethality Varus that Me Have Fun opted into playing ahead in the early lane phase. Otherwise, it just falls apart, and that's exactly what happened. From a game on Corki where you had close to 10 kills, was doing the absolute most damage you could possibly do, to basically the script being flipped, and that time around a pentakill for Plastalbo after that very frustrating game number 1 on the Senna. Both these teams have kind of gone through the motions here. They've had their hardships. I feel like they're slowly throughout this series, even though it isn't a full best of 5, even though it's only 3, they're ironing out kinks and they're understanding what works and what doesn't. And it feels like we were criticizing in game number 1 the strategy from Legacy Amber, saying they needed more agency. They got that for themselves. Now, if we take a look at what happened with Dorado in game 2, it feels like they need to have a more reliable composition and something that is a little bit less solo Q-esque.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if we're looking at the lanes individually, by far the most volatile matchup for this series has been bot lane. We saw Plastablo be, instrumental to the winning game number 2, and then obviously, like you said, Ferris, that Corki in game number 1 by Me Have Fun was the big boy carry for the side of Dorado in that first game. So I do think that, looking ahead into this game number 3, we're going to be targeting that bot lane, right? And it's not just because of how volatile it's been, but also because of how much those pools are starting to get pinched. We're already seeing the Jinx ban come through. We have 4 champions, some of the strongest in the role. Arguably, I would say these probably are the 4 strongest in the bot lane role at the current moment, locked away behind Fearless. And so I think that it's really going to be on the teams to get those 80 carries out of the way as soon as possible before you get to the second phase of bans and have potentially more of that pool pinch.
I could see a world where even we see mages down here. Veigar is something that Me Have Fun likes to play. Ziggs is something that Plastalbo likes to play. And mages themselves right now in a solid spot in bot lane, very viable. Maybe it's something they end up opting into. The Jinx, of course, has been taken away throughout the entirety of this series, so that's not going to be acquired here from Me Have Fun. So I'm looking at either that Veigar or that Lucian, which is now on the table. So if he wants to go for that aggressive route, and it feels like he's kind of been following that trend so far in the series, then he can do that. As Ambessa, something taken away last time, locked in here for Legacy Amber.
Yep, a lot of these really, perennial B1 champions keep getting left open. It was the Corki, right? And then we have been seeing, shades of that throughout this series. And now it's going to be the Ambessa, another very popular B1 pick. And Dorado going to waste no time actually just straight up snagging away a counter toward that Ambessa. It is going to be the Camille locked in here for Apex. So not going to see what we did in game number 2, where it was basically just tank on tank action, not a ton of volatility in that lane. It's going to be bruiser on bruiser. So adding a lot of emphasis toward that matchup here for game number 3 is the junglers are going to get picked up away right here in game 3. The Viego followed up by the Skarner, actually, which has me scratching my head a little bit. This is a champion that has gotten, it's just like nerfed to hell and back, to be completely honest with you. Skarner has been the target of multiple nerfs across multiple weeks and has dropped off in priority and importance in drafts so much that even tier 1 regions aren't even bothering to pick or ban this guy anymore. So I am wondering what Full Clear has up his sleeve with this character, because as it stands, not the strongest in the role right now.
So Lulu taken away on the ban side of things is interesting me considering the Tristana has been locked in here. I think Nautilus is smart to take away support bans as both carries are hovered. It gives both teams a little bit more of an inclination as to what the supports want to pick to pair with those 80 carries that have already been locked in. Of course, maybe we see a Tristana go into the mid lane, not as prominent anymore. Bot lane Tristana was gone for a very long time and has since been revived. So I'm going to assume that this is something that Plustalbo is going to take down there. And the Kaisa was that response. Very low range, could get very scrappy here. A couple of enchanters taken out, but now it's going to be likely Shiro piloting this Poppy down here. Something they do like to play, something that will be able to synergize nicely with the Plasma. What will the response be here for the side of Altanio?
I'm surprised Dorado don't actually opt to go for more engage support bans with this Tristana in tow, especially when it is very clear that Legacy want to go for a dive comp. And luckily for Dorado, if I'm being completely honest with you, it is going to be Legacy locking up that Renata, another champion that has fallen off significantly in priority over, the past couple of weeks to the past couple of months. Hasn't seen a ton of action in competitive League of Legends, and now I'm really wondering how that's actually going to operate, because you've got a lot of fighters on your team. So I do think the revive does bring a lot of value, but at the same time, Dorado have a lot of front-loaded damage. The ability to pick for this team is extremely high when you have champions like Poppy, like Camille. They find someone completely isolated and it is just, they're a goner, right? And there's really no opportunity, I would say, for a revive to come through from that Renata bailout. So I think it is going to be Legacy, the game plan we saw in game number 2, which is trying to look for those team fights, trying to be a 5-man unit and play that front to back. And for Dorado, it's about finding those picks, using those resets to your advantage. Anytime you see a Viego on a comp, you always have to keep that character in the back of your mind, or, in some cases, the forefront of your mind, because he definitely can be a carry and is one that needs to be respected.
USA is sticking to the same strategy over and over again. Maybe Xin Zhao in game 1, not necessarily your carry, so to speak, more so your aggressive facilitator, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. But, really wanting to play these champions that want to take control. They want to grab some resources for themselves and use them to kind of carry a game, kind of run with it. And we'll see how well USA can do it now on this Viego. I think, once again, very limited frontline for Dorado, but this is just kind of the way that they've liked to play for the past couple of games, and they've got themselves some solid lanes. Again, they maybe understand what went wrong in the previous game, and we'll see if they can end up pulling it back. I do think this Mel angle is turbo, because if you look at the range of Legacy Amber, they have almost nothing. So if they don't get a public execution onto Kerrigan, bro is just going to run this game. It is impossible to get on this champion. I hate this champion, by the way. I'll be biased as hell. Mel is insanely strong, man, and it's going to be a great game for her.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this definitely is going to be a game where Kerrigan is looked at to leverage his range to try and poke out Legacy before a lot of these fights, and goes with me have fun having those Void Seekers with the W. I think you actually have a deceptive amount of range for Dorado Gaming. It's going to be up to them to just soften up the fights before they actually happen, because you soften them up, Viego gets the resets, and he's going to be the guy running, I think, a lot of these 5-on-5s because of the amount of mobility that Legacy actually have in tow with those Heartbreakers. You really can have a Viego that is just flipping around, dashing around the fight, and really one that you can't quite keep up with. So that is definitely going to be the piece on the board that I think Dorado are going to have to focus on the most. And they have a lot of avenues to get it ahead. And for the case of Legacy, it's about getting that Tristana ahead, just making sure that Plastablo is able to do what he was, doing in game number 2. And, just allowing the Trist to roam wild and free while having the protection of his top jungle.
This looks very nicely laid out here. The Spectral Maw is held. The flash goes down too early. Jumping on in is Shiro. The exhaust to slow down Valdenio, and first blood will go to Me Have Fun.
Woo!
The handshake will connect as well, and that's actually 2 kills. The second going to the Viego. The pathing is so smart. We got a solo kill topside. Dorado once again says we do not care about what the past game looked like. This game number 3 so far is going to be ours.
And look at Dorado's transition with their aggression. They don't immediately go back. USA doesn't go for a reset. He goes to steal away at camps. The Krugs are his, but he has to be careful.
Not going to land. The stun is full clear. They're going to continue the chase. Unless a handshake connects, I think both Shiro and USA are able to walk on out of this one, even channeling the recall. They are really chasing this one. They want it so bad. They can't find it, though. And I love that play from USA. You could tell he was going for that early gank because he cleared the Gromp third, and it set up for something that the other side really wasn't expecting.
Yeah, and we're going to go into the replay here, which is currently on pause. But okay, here we go. There's the play. Really like that he holds the W until after Valdino goes for the flash. The exhaust also gives time for Me Have Fun to free hit secure that kill. And then, like you said, Ferris, the handshake. Plastablo doesn't even have the opportunity to flash away, and then the ignite finishes off the top lane exchange. So 3 quick kills. Actually, I'm going back to live, and we just got a 4th kill.
We did.
How did that? Plastablo went down, and he also didn't use some. So again, the Tristana just falls off screen. We have an off-screen death for the first time here in the Immortal Summer League, Ferris. We can't have that because off-screen deaths, they don't actually die. They don't ever count.
You're right. So we can just write this off as a 3-0 so far in the kill score for Dorado. But we actually, here's the thing, Quacks. I do have extra information to add to this. We did see it technically in the picture-in-picture. So I have to hit you with the actually. It actually kind of was on the screen.
All right. You got me this time. But still, the point is, Dorado running away with this early game so far as Apex just hook shots toward the wall, and Full Clear has no angle to follow up with that one. And Skarner yet to take a back as well. He cleared his first quadrant and then got the crab and then looped back around after double crabbing. So now is looking to take his respawns. But I think that this is an opportunity that Dorado want to try and take, maybe to wrestle control of this dragon, because we have a winning bot lane, we have range in the mid lane, and we have an item advantage in the jungle. So all of that culminating in a very strong Dorado Gaming bot side, and if a fight were to break out on that neutral, it would be a very clean, I think, win for Dorado.
I think Me Have Fun is sitting on a lot of gold right now. You can see the itemizations from both AD carries are still very even. I think a lot of gold in the pocket of the Kai'Sa off that second kill, off that CS he's been able to accumulate as well, and that 10 CS lead. So once he's able to channel that back, then you can really see the difference in strength between the Kai'Sa and the Tristana, and definitely where Dorado would then milk that advantage around the neutral objective. They might just do it anyways because USA is here. Again, he loves to split map. He did it in game 1. He's doing it again. Not necessarily split map because he did clear his top side, but he really is paying attention to one lane, honing in the pressure.
You can see Full Clear wants to try and get the jump onto Kerrigan, but the Mel is in fog, so won't be able to do anything. Might get caught out.
Such a good read from Kerrigan there. Knew exactly what the Skarner was doing. You can see the red ward right there. That's what spotted the Skarner out. USA transforms into said Skarner, gets the pin onto the wall with the Ishtal's impact, and gets himself kill number 2 of the game. Plastablo, maybe in some trouble, probably not. But either way, 6-0 Dorado. I guess they skipped a beat in game 2, Quacks. They are back, and they are rolling in game number 3.
They are just running over Legacy, and USA might legitimately look for a dive here. They have to be aware, though, that Valdino is in the area, and yeah, they're just not going to chance it. They're so far ahead of this game, and they don't want to relinquish control, so they're not going to go for 50-50 plays. As Bok Choy actually goes down. Kirigan is getting solo killed in the mid lane. I guess the mother beats the daughter this time around.
That's actually hilarious. I totally did not understand the significance of the lore there until you just mentioned that there. Bessa, yeah. Mother teaching daughter a lesson, and actually, it's a 25 CS lead, and I was singing the praises. Maybe I'm just cursed, okay? I sung the praises of the Mel, and I was like, this is a great game for Mel. How is anyone going to close the gap? Well, it turns out, you know what? Maybe 20 million dashes in a very small lane might do well for you in that regard. But honestly, good for Bok Choy to at least get the team on the board while the rest of the map looks pretty dire.
Stun, narrowly missing there for USA. Both sides wanting to set up around the grubs. You can see Baldino roamed, but I mean, Shiro is just camping these bushes, making such good use out of the wall slam, and just the threat of getting locked up by this Poppy is enough to scare off Legacy from just trying to establish vision, from face checking that bush, which is the right play at the end of the day, as they would almost certainly die. But it really feels like beyond this Ambessa, Legacy don't have a lot of strong pieces on the board. Bok Choy did recall and get that Brutalizer, so is very, very powerful in these fights, but is easily going to go down if, you know, the CC train from Dorado can get going.
Oh, Apex, they want to try and make a play. Shiro finds the pin into the wall. The Ignite is going down, but USA has been taken into the middle of the tower. The Impale misses, but the shutdown will be collected. Somehow the Tristana died. I have no idea how. Like, Ignite maybe? A fadeaway Ignite or something. It's a kill. It's a shutdown, but it goes to the Renata. It will get them time on the grubs, but definitely not as good as it could have maybe played out for Legacy Amber.
I mean, definitely feels like Dorado are going to be the ones, you know, missing out on that plays. We're actually going to get a look at how this solo kill unfolded. Okay, so Kirigan walks up, doesn't have his root. Does Bok Choy just hit him with a public execution, and Kirigan isn't able to respond?
Well, we're going to see a public execution go down on live, because Shiro is going to be in some trouble here. The Ambessa is very strong, finds himself the kill, but now the reinforcements have arrived. The Golden Eclipse goes down. It is not able to grab anybody a kill, but USA will get his part. He transforms into the Skarner. He'll get himself another. Now he's the Renata Glass. Stalbo. I got tripped up on the name as well, as he's going to try and jump on away. Rocket Jump will bring him to at least safety for the moment, waiting on that hook shot cooldown. You have to believe. There it is. Apex can't quite close the gap, though. Careful, almost falls to the tower, but it's going to be Dorado, I guess, making that re-engage happen. It looks good potentially for Legacy Amber, just not quite enough to get them over that goal line.
The counterpunch just a little too late for Dorado as well, because they aren't able to get any of the grubs. So that neutral goes over to Legacy. But still, you know, mind you, Legacy giving over kills toward that Viego, and USA still continuing to get very strong in this game. I think next reset should get his first item, and that's where I really want to see Shiro roam around this map and continue to do what he has been doing on this Poppy. Just make plays with your jungler and constantly put Legacy Esports in uncomfortable situations around Fog of War, because, you know, that at the end of the day is why Legacy were able to get those grubs, because they got the pick, they managed to reign control of a certain part of the map, and with that Ambessa, the fear of that public execution, it really felt like Dorado did not have a way to, you know, reclaim that side of Summoner's Rift. So definitely going to be a thing where Dorado have to move first, and having that Poppy and Viego leading the charge is, I think, a good game plan, because we're going to get a bit of a replay here. So yeah, the grubs go down just a little too late, but USA is going to be able to just clean house here. He gets one kill, he gets another kill, it's 2 kills, and, you know, Plastablo narrowly escapes this one. Almost gets a kill onto Apex, but just isn't able to quite finish the job.
Oh, you can see in the picture-in-picture, they still have these lane assignments, so avoiding what might have been a difficult lane for the Tristana and the Renata, and putting Apex in a tough spot is here's a public execution. Kerrigan is getting deleted off the map. That's the Voltaic Cyclosword power. This Ambessa is a glass cannon, and the cannon found its target. Its target was that Ambessa, and Bok Choy continues to be the gleaming hope here for Legacy Amber. Exactly. That's insanity here. Really shows why they were a little bit hesitant to let this one through, but this time getting his hands on it and making his impact known. But now the Drake is going to start. I don't know, again, despite the kill, probably not going to be able to be contested, and 2 Drakes will go into the hands of Dorado. So still, despite what we just saw, in a pretty solid spot in this game, one that they're happy about.
Look on the other side. I mean, Apex forced away from his turret. Dorado have to try and just gain some control back on this top lane. The ult goes wide. That's very close. Oh!
So insanely close. I mean, Bok Choy does so much damage. And, well, Kerrigan and Apex, I guess, the duo here trying to defend their tower, which slowly but surely is starting to fall. Still 2 plates are left. USA is thinking about this, but yeah, Bai is 2 levels on you, but you do have a good amount of damage. That is the big amount of counterplay, and so when that's on cooldown, it's going to be a little bit difficult for the Gragas to play. USA still wants this. Maybe a flashes away himself defensively from the explosive cast, and Bai says, get out of my lane, sir.
I think good awareness there from USA. He really is, I think, one of the big carries for Dorado, and I think giving over a kill to Bai, who has had a very lackluster game on the Gragas so far, and just giving a character who could, prove to be a thorn in your side more gold. Certainly not something that Dorado want to do ahead of the turrets dropping in about a minute and a half. So we did see Legacy on that top side gain a lot of gold from that top turret. I think they took about 3 plates, but Dorado, on the other hand, hasn't really been active about, chunking out these turrets and getting that little incremental gold from the platings on the turrets. So that, I think, is the reason why this gold lead still, although it is in favor of Dorado, has remained relatively close despite such a dominant early game going to Dorado, both in kills and in dragons.
Kind of waiting for me have fun to join a lot of these plays, because if you take a look at the pot lane advantage, like it's 40, 50 CS, 3 whole kills. This Kai'Sa is just so far ahead of the Tristana. So that's really where we're going to see a lot of the power of this Dorado squad once Kai'Sa really starts to get online, gets that Rage Blade in hand. Right now, it's been Bok Choy kind of flexing his muscles, but wait until the Kai'Sa gets involved, and could see Dorado have a little bit better of a time, as this is a 1 versus 1 for the Apex. Just got exactly bombed on by. It's a Bimba right there. And the tower hits him twice, and he's going to be locked up for that solo kill, as there's a nice usage of the Steadfast Presence to cancel the rocket jump, but they can't quite find the kill into Plastalbo. Nice solo kill there from Bai.
And really, really good defense there from Plastablo as well to use that buster shot. Just gets away. Doesn't even have to burn the flash. But now we're going to turn our attention to the top side. Bok Choy, likely not the target.
Well, Bok Choy is going to use the public execution that lands onto Shiro. Full clear is still on the flank. Lands the Impale only onto the Poppy. And Bok Choy says, you know what, my friend? A little bit too many enemies in the area. I think I'm going to leave you to that. And, well, you fell down. At least I able to keep my KDA intact. He doesn't actually have a bounty. Yeah. The rest of the team has fallen behind. But okay, +1 to Dorado is, well, hold on a second. They're sitting on a ward. That's a dangerous spot to be in. Valdanio is definitely going to be in some trouble. Plastalbo able to get on away. The flash to safety brings the Renata Glass out of that situation. Somehow, some way, Quacks, they get out alive.
I mean, it's 1 kill over to Dorado, but look at how much more of the map they forsook for that top lane play. They dropped mid-wave. Apex had to recover in the bot lane as well. We can see the Camille is on the split push game away from the team. Does have the teleport ahead of this Herald. If it breaks out into a fight, will be able to join. But I think just based off of how quickly this is being bursted and the fact that Bok Choy doesn't have that public execution, no real way to start a fight.
There again, he got sent right back into the waiting arms of Bai on this Gragas. Is now going to teleport down to catch this wave in the bot side as well. The rebuttal was used early, and you could see Bai knew that was the moment that Mel was basically a sitting duck. No flash, no rebuttal, no way to get away from the explosive cask. And 1 more kill to the Gragas, slowly starting to build up some power in his own right.
Yeah, and I think because Me Have Fun is here, they won't get the mid lane turret, but you're seeing just the amount of damage that a Tristana with 3 grubs can actually apply onto these structures, Ferris. It is not pretty, and so I think Dorado are going to have to be very mindful of base defense, because we've said that Plastavo has been, put behind pretty significantly in this game, but that all can change if he gets a turret, if he is able to, have his own way in these side lanes, get a tower with those grubs and, get himself some gold back. So it's just about being aware that for Dorado, that they still may be in control of this game, but they are still playing this match as if it's on a nice edge, and seems like that edge might tip over one way or the other, as a dragon is coming up in about 15 seconds.
The gold is actually dead even now, as Me Have Fun could be in trouble. The charge is going to detonate on his head, but we got fights elsewhere. Bach is almost going to get so low. He's one shot, able to flash away to safety. Now Shiro's the one that's in some trouble now, trying to jump on in his full clear. The public
USA.
USA. He gets hit by the handshake as well, and that's 2 kills that go over to Legacy Amber. Now they win the fight around the Drake. They should deny the soul point off of this too, and it comes off the back of Bai somehow miraculously being able to live in a situation that definitely did not look too beneficial to him.
I mean, Bai gets out, the resets aren't there for Viego, and then Bok Choy is able to regroup with his team, starts up the fight, finds USA on this Viego, and Dorado Gaming lose their main piece. They lose themselves their dragon. They don't even get the turret on the top side, as once again, Apex's split-pushing shenanigans get put on full stop by Legacy, just constantly having his number and denying him from getting that solo gold as the Camille. This map play from these guys has been so immaculate over the past couple of minutes, and now it nets them their first gold lead of the game, Paris.
This has been an interesting game compared to what we saw in games 1 and 2, where we praised Dorado for how well they were able to transition their lead from early game to mid game to late game dominance. They didn't even actually get to the late game. This time around, it feels like their lead has been a little bit of a dud because now they don't have a lead anymore. The gold lead is gone. Now, fortunately enough, Me Have Fun has been able to stay alive and not actually fall and maintain this lead over the Tristana, but Bok Choy, Bai have been such a instrumental force for Legacy Amber in this comeback in this game, and it kind of shows that Dorado is struggling a little bit to find opportunities to make big plays happen.
Apex going to challenge Bok Choy, but soon
what
gonna
a
learn.
Great public execution utilized. And there goes the Hextech ultimatum, but the ultimatum is you die or you die. There's only actually one option, and Apex will fall. Good help out there from Vidania, but now the cross is going to happen now onto Bai. Can you slip your way out of this one, my friend? It looks like you cannot, and the shutdown will go the way of the Viego, but pushing on forward, Quack's top side is the rest of Legacy Amber jumping on in his mate Vice. He gets hit with the Ishtal's impact, but flashes away because the wall was not found. Sidesteps the Impale. The teleport is in from Kerrigan. Plastalbo is here as well. Shiro is getting very low. He's able to get away with a good amount of HP, though. The play will maybe continue. Plastalbo able to jump away with that rocket jump. Very low is Bok Choy, and actually holding on to their tier 2. Is Dorado. Plastalbo has to flash away. Shiro's looking for the stun. He is able to find it. There's the rest of the damage that's going to flow over the top as well, and Kerrigan will grab the kill. Dorado, an excellent group of plays around the map, and here comes USA with the Herald.
I mean, it's a bit of a messy execution by Dorado, but they still get the result, which is a kill, and now another one as Bai goes way too far. The Herald is down, though, so another charge not possible. Dorado reel back some control of this game, but the fact remains, Ferris, Bok Choy still unkilled in this game, still doing so much damage here. It is the #1 target for Dorado to go for, wanted dead or alive, but preferably dead. And that is what they're going to be hunting throughout this game. If they can get it, I think they can really reel back control for themselves in here in this game and start pushing forward from there.
A big buy for the Viego. Now has the Collector. Gets himself a Noon Quiver as well. So big damage coming through for this Viego. But once again, a very glass cannon oriented build. You are not tanky at all. He doesn't even have boots completed. He just has the free version, the slightly magical boots. So just fully indexing into trying to get to 3 items as fast as possible is miles ahead of the Scar. And if you look at the comparison here also on those free boots, and just a Heart Steal and a Giant Spell to his name. So USA slowly creeping up in power. Grab that shutdown onto Bai is going to be a big player in these upcoming team fights. And like you said, Bok Choy is going to be their #1 target. He's got to show up big for the squad in these plays, but he's pretty squishy himself with this lethality build. Doesn't have those HP items. Gets a little bit from Edge of Night, but very squishy for the most part. And now on 2 items is the Kaisa. So we're seeing big item breakpoints coming through for at least Dorado here a little bit sooner than their counter.
And another kind of caveat to this glass cannon and Bessa build is just how difficult it is to actually extend the fight with Poppy present, right? Shiro, I think, can really put a damper on what Bok Choy wants to do, right? And maneuvering around the fights as Ambessa just gets a whole lot harder with that champion present as Gustavo.
What are you doing, man? He's walking melee range of a Viego, but he's now going to get hit by an Impale, and he might just go down, but he gets into the reset before he can drop. He jumps away with the stolen rocket jump. He's now the Tristana, and now the play is going to go all in favor of Dorado Alpha. Me Have Fun grabs his 6th kill of the game. Otacon is surely going to be next, and a critical mistake here leaves Legacy Amber in quite the unfortunate spot in this game.
And I mean, Legacy, that were trying to burst down USA before he could get the reset, but it just wasn't enough damage. He ends up going into the untargetable state. He uses that rocket jump, like you said, Ferris. All of Dorado Gaming, with their numbers advantage, are able to descend onto Legacy and find themselves the fight win, as well as that Otacon 10 seconds before this Dragon comes up. This could not only be that topside objective, but sole point on the horizon for Dorado.
And they're in a spot now where they're back in that comfortable position. They're back with a gold lead in their hands, a pretty sizable lead at that as well, hovering around the 3,500 mark. And now it's time for Legacy Amber to try and get themselves back into this one. Bok Choy did end up falling in that last play. They've been having a hard go at finding the engages that they want. They haven't really been able to set up nicely around these neutral objectives. They're not even going to attempt at a contest for this one. Again, it's not the soul. If you don't feel super compelled to fight it out for this one, but come 5 minutes time, when that next one rolls around, they better hope they're in a better position to contest these, lest they give that very powerful buff over to Dorado's side, who much more of a confident position right now. Me Have Fun has to be careful, though. This is a good angle from Full Clear, trying to weave out the side steps. The Impale is going to land. The cask will as well. The shutdown goes to the Tristana. There's the play you wanted to see from Legacy Amber.
Now, Legacy Amber, you know, Me Have Fun tries to operate with his fancy feet, but just is not able to get away. Legacy pick that one up, and now pushing out into the mid lane. They have the numbers advantage. They're pushing up here, and now you can see that Kerrigan has to go all the way around. So this gives Legacy maybe some time to free hit onto that tower with the grubs. They can really knock it down easily.
This is going to be a 4 versus 5. Jumping on in is USA, but he gets by the hostile takeover and the public execution. That's going to be the Viego down. To go down as well into the Belo Bok Choy. The Golden Eclipse from Kerrigan is going to bring him down, and will actually keep the tier 2 alive as well. Dorado lose a couple members, but they hold the line at the very least.
Yeah, Dorado, like you said, still holding on toward that tier 2 mid turret. It's definitely crucial that they don't lose a lot of these big crucial members from here on out, as well as the Baron going to be coming up in about 45 seconds. So picks like the one that happened onto Me Have Fun are going to get a whole lot more consequential if you aren't carry as anyone in this game. But really, I think the big thing is that these junglers just aren't getting found. Full Clears has really been the guy that has put himself at the forefront of a lot of these fights, and sometimes it's resulted in his death. This time around now, with that neutral objective spawning, he has to be a lot more careful with how he engages and making sure that he has a way out before he goes in.
Had a hard time landing these big impales as well, and this could be a pivotal ultimate for these fights when it comes to Legacy Amber. You can get 3 people locked up in that one. It can also lead to big wombo combos as well. Hostile takeover. You also have the explosive cask that can hit multiple members. These are things you look for in these fights to bring you some wins for Legacy Amber, because, again, this game is within 1,000 gold at this stage of the game. That's virtually nothing. It comes down to who can execute a little bit better and who can maybe find the picks in the side lanes, or maybe even the solo kills to make it 1-for-1. Can Bai do it? He cannot. The Heartbreaker will bring him down. Another soul collected for this Viego. They're trying to respond with the Baron on the other side. I don't know if they can do this, though. They don't do it very fast.
No, they definitely can't. They get found out. Dorado Gaming are really quick to react, but now here comes LA.
Kerrigan goes golden, tries to keep himself safe. The Impale and the... What the hell? That's the craziest interaction I've ever seen in my life. The Impale and the Keeper's Verdict went down at the same time, so they both went with each other. That's crazy. With the team fight win goes into Dorado's hands. Yeah. They clutch up. They find the pick. They move back around the map quacks. Now Baron should be theirs to claim. I don't think the Skarner's in the area to make this happen. They might try. Shiro's getting very low, but they're just playing bodyguard at this point. Now the Hextech ultimatum's going to keep him in place, and Full Clear has nowhere to go. He flashes away, but you can't get away from Mel's ultimate. She's going to execute you from whoever knows how much range. As Valentino tries to escape as well. Bias teleported in, but he might have just teleported into his own death. The hook shot is going to connect. The last Q will finish the job. Apex looking for more. That last little bit of the Kaisa W didn't finish him off, and he's just going to die to the tower, getting a little too silly. But nonetheless, Quacks, Dorado quite happy with how this is played out.
Oh yeah, Dorado are just full of steam ahead in this game as a little bit of damage gets put onto Plastablo. He has to back away. Bok Choy maybe looking to run interference and just trying to find, a straggler off of this reset that Dorado are going for, but I really want to go back toward that Baron fight because that was a crucial win for Dorado. Shiro with that keeper's verdict straight up saved that exchange and turned it from a 5v3 into a 3v2. And then Dorado were able to merge up and make that a 5v2 and then just completely win via numbers. So massive shout out to Shiro for that play. They secure the Baron as well, 30 seconds ahead of this Dragon, and Legacy are desperately clawing toward this game as this could mean the difference between a win and a loss coming up here.
Heartbreaker had to be used very early again for this is Seoul. So Dorado is definitely going to be playing hard for this one. So is Legacy Amber to try and deny this, but USA is going to be playing without that Heartbreaker for those next couple of seconds. If a fight breaks out and he doesn't have access to that spell, it could mean the fight here for either side. Execution is going to jump on in. Bok Choy is trying to find something, but the Poppy is just going to stop him right in his tracks. It will not matter though. The Viego is going to fall. This is the fight that Legacy Amber needs. Me have fun. Still full HP. Still trying to do the damage, but now with no one to stand in front of him, he has nowhere to go. Legacy Amber, they hold.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Dorado get found. Legacy's ultimates, they find their respective targets, and Bok Choy is able to get into the middle of all of the mayhem. That's exactly where he likes it as this Ambessa. And the rest of Legacy absolutely wreak havoc. They find two, as well as deny the Dragon Soul from Dorado. As Kirigan, you are very, very, very far up, my friend.
He's got some reinforcements behind him. He also had a very nice keeper's verdict there from his support, but Bok Choy's gone way too high. He did not know of the reinforcements behind the Mel, and that means that he will fall in this exchange. Tier 2, though, going to be traded. That's some gold going down onto that Gragas. Now on 3 items as well. The Bimba is online here, Quack.
He definitely is. And we're going to go back to that Dragon fight. Just see, Bok Choy really, I think USA, like you said earlier, Ferris, burning that ultimate is really bad for USA because that's an execute, right? That is your opportunity to take down a frontliner, which your team seems to be struggling to actually, burn against without the Camille being right there to hit them. And playing melee range against this comp has proven to be super arduous for the side of Dorado, but then the public execution finds its mark. It's a huge hostile takeover, a big ult from Skarner as well. Just all of those ult keys find exactly where they need to go. And Dorado can't really do anything about it. They do get that return kill onto Bok Choy though, so it buys them a little bit of time, but still that Dragon Soul remains unclaimed for Dorado.
They're trying to make a play around this top side. Again, yet to take down that tier 3. They finally do. They pop the Edge of Night, overloading this side of the map. Apex on the other side of the map is pushing down in that bot lane. The rest of the reinforcements are here for Legacy Amber. Such a close game. A perfect way to round out this series. 2 consecutive stomps. Again, things got a little bit dicey in game number 2, but still a very convincing win for Legacy Amber. And now we get this game to wrap it all up where now both teams are fighting tooth and nail for every bit of advantages that this game can bring. Now moving on to 6 Drakes potentially in the next upcoming 2 minutes and 45 seconds. This has been a very good showing between both of these teams. Now we'll see who can kind of clutch up in these last couple fights. Who can make the better decisions and pull off with the first win of the season here in Titan Immortal 2025's summer.
Yeah, and I think it's going to come down to team fightings at this point because we're seeing Apex try to make something happen on the side lanes as this Camille, but with how ahead Bai is at this point in the game and how much wave clear and CDR, or rather, CDR he has. Hang on.
Goodness. Well, that's a flash hostile takeover. That is a public execution
coming in.
And all it's going to get you is a dead support. Now 4 versus 5 jumping on in. Apex.
Oh, no, Apex
ultimate, but he gets absolutely annihilated. Still able to live with 1 HP. There's the rebuttal. It's going to take the explosive cast. And that means Me Have Fun is going to be able to jump into the backline. Could this be where we all of a sudden see the snap engage that's going to end the game right here, right now? Multiple members down. Full Clear is going to have the exact same fate. Only 2 people alive, Quacks. They might just look to end this game.
And it's a reverse of Bomba by getting his ultimate sent right back at him. Dorado Gaming, 5 members strong, are standing in the base of Legacy Amber. And they're looking for the game end.
Here they go, and Salvo is going to fall. Valdenio has respawned. It looks like they are going to disengage. They've gotten a whole lot. They've cracked the base. They've been able to find a whole bunch of kills. Cement themselves back in the lead. Just not able to find that last little piece.
Oh my god, please show me that fight again. Ult from Bok Choy goes wide. Ult from Valdino goes wide. Kirigan gets himself a kill. Apex goes in. And then look at this interaction. He gets let go midway through and then somehow manages to live. The ult gets no Yud rebutted by the Mel. And it was just chaos in this team fight, but so many fun interactions on display there. All in favor, mind you, of Dorado, as they're the ones that end up being the benefactors of that fight win. They break open the base, they get themselves the inhibitor, and now Legacy Amber are 1 team fight loss away from their first loss in the Immortal League, and Dorado looking again to cement themselves as the org that fosters talent, the org that brings, relatively unknown players up and makes them stars. If they want to look for that last fight, that will prove that they are those stars and that they are going to be one of the best teams in Immortal, or a team at least to watch. They have control of the topside river. The Baron is up, Ferris.
And it looks like it's going to be the trade. It is Baron for Soul Point. Legacy Amber are willing to give this up. The question is, can they hold on to the base with the purple worm in the hands of Dorado? We're going to have to wait and see. Again, we're talking about what kinds of teams these two are going to be later on into the season. You make yourself known in moments like this, in pressure situations this early on. You're already getting tested. Pull out a win here, and you show that under the most pressure you can possibly feel, a game 3, near 35-40 minute game, or at least approaching that standpoint. If you can clutch up here, it's going to be good signs going forward. Again, a lot riding on this game. It is the first of the season.
Reset. He doesn't have any way to TP back into the fight easily. It's 4v5.
Execution goes wide. They're trying to force this. Here comes the teleport. The explosive cast goes down, but it's already Bok Choy that's dropped. USA is getting very low. He transforms. We once again see the exact same interaction. USA going for Postalbo is able to put him in his place now. Into the bailout goes 1 member, but it's not going to be enough. It looks like Dorado, before we thought maybe they were going to reset, but now they just went in and took the game for themselves.
And it's Kirigan with a triple. Dorado Gaming, it's not a clean ace. It's not a clean series. There are stains, there are smudges, there's blood in the water, but they stand victorious as Legacy Amber get their base ripped open like dry wood. And it will be the first series win for Dorado, and hopefully a long list of them in the Immortal League.
Looking at the KDAs in that tail end snapshot of the scoreboard, Kerrigan 13-3 on this Mel. I was praising the Mel pick early on. It struggled in the lane against Ambessa, but in those team fights, the range and the damage that Kerrigan was able to provide, he stepped up for this team. We talked about this player as someone who knows how to win, who's been in a lot of pressure situations in Immortal before, definitely stepped up in that game on the Mel. And we also have to talk about Me Have Fun on the Kaisa too. So many good performances, multiple members here to bring out this very clutch win for Dorado. This one.
Honestly, we said it after game number 1, Ferris, that it was a team effort. And a lot of people like to point fingers and say, this guy was the carry, that guy was the carry. I think in game number 3 was another team effort, to be honest with you. I think Dorado, as a cohesive unit, showed up in the third and final game. And the reason we saw them struggle, I think, so much in game number 2 is because they were looking at certain members to step up, certain members to actually be the carries, prop them up. But, you know, rising tides raise all ships, and it feels like all of those ships were raised in game 3 for the side of Dorado. The stakes got high, and Dorado rose to meet the challenge. So super fun series to open us up here for Immortal. I loved how this series turned out. A stomp in game 1, a stomp in game 2, and then just a slug fest galore in game number 3. And that's the way I like my best of 3s, and I hope everyone watching liked that too, because it was a pleasure to be on the cast and then finally get back to the Immortal League, Ferris.
Absolutely. What a way to kick us off here in week number 1. And that's going to conclude our broadcast for the night. A fantastic way to start off the summer. Excited for more matches like this in the future. Be sure to check out all the other Titan Leagues as well if you're interested in more of that. Pretty much all throughout the week, there's games that are going on. More action is happening all across the community. So stay tuned to all of that. We'll be back for week number 2 next Thursday. Stay tuned for that one. But until then, we will see you all in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your week.